Adwan force. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Waliletea fujo Moi mpaka wakapata cooperation. Wakakuja wakasumbua Kibaki mpaka wakachukua nusu mkate. Wamekuja wakazungusha Uhuru hapo mpaka wakaenda na handshake, program yetu ikapotea, BBI ikaendelea, tukazama, tukaingia kwa madeni. Sasa mimi nimewaambia, hii serikali hii, mimi nawaambia hii serikali ni ya mahasla. Hakuna nusu mkate, hakuna handshake, hakuna hiyo borojo.
Jana nimeona wale wazee tulishinda. Ati hiyo mzee akisema ati he'll not be coerced or intimidated to joining our government. Wewe mzee sikia. We have no business within our government. Hatuna haja na hatugojei wewe. We are not looking for you and we have no time. Stop saying that people can force you to come to this government. Forget about being forced or coerced. We are not interested because sisi tuko na kazi ya kufanya.
Kama kuna mtu ako na namba ya William Ruto, alikodi hii video mtumie. Maisha yangu tangu nizaliwe sijawahi kuona mtu muongo, mfisadi, baradhuli, dhabdhabina kama William Samoei Ruto.
Mimi Hassan Joho nikitaka kuongea, mimi I don't even dream of engaging with them. Ati huyu akitaka aje aongee sio na mimi niongee na Ruto nini? Mimi nikamtafute atanipa nini? Wilbaro.
I wonder.
Nilipeleka Wilbaro mimi la kimtaani la kucheza nalo zamani.
We have a choice to reject over 60% of these names or give President Ruto his skunk. Apart from a few individuals who are not even more than 8, the rest are incompetent, unqualified, have integrity issues, are people who cannot deliver this country from where it is to the next level that we want the country to move in.
A few moments later.
Now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo to the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning. The Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs.
Nguruwe kujiganga na mafuta yake.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Traffic.
Traffic this morning. Let's take a look. It's Wednesday and we're getting into and over the hump of the week. And what does the traffic look like as you come into the Thika Superhighway today? Well, it's busy. It's starting to already build up as you come then through towards Survey, and we'll see traffic as you get towards the Pangani underpass. As you come off of Ngong Road, you're okay for now. And on Waiakwe, heading out towards the city, coming in from Kangemi, it's flowing free and fair. No wahala here at all. All right. Also, as you come off of Jogo Road, going towards Landis, you're doing all right. There is a little bit of traffic. It's starting to form on Mombasa Road, and this is because of the construction that's inbound to the city, rather on that road, and so traffic inbound is already starting to clog up. It looks like it's going to be a busy Wednesday, but we'll try to keep things moving, won't we? We'll talk SpiceFM KE on X, #The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Very, very good morning to everybody. Dennis Okari came ready for Wednesday.
Sorry? Get ready for Wednesday?
I said you came ready for Wednesday.
Oh, yes, I did.
You know?
Yes. Mambo Freshie. Mambo Fitty.
Okay.
Mambo, what does that gentleman from Kibra say? Mambo what? Aseto, help me out. Eh?
Mambo Vulai.
No, not Mambo Vulai. What's his name?
Talking about
Fresha Barida. I have no idea how that came into my mind. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have an idea why that came to my mind. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely not.
Fresha Barida.
It's actually a song.
Oh, okay.
It is?
Yeah. Freshy Barida.
Nothing really bad, huh? nothing really bad for my age, huh?
See, I'm not exposing you in any way, but it's sour.
So on the Fresha Barida?
Sour. How do you answer to the thing? Excuse me. I don't understand.
I'm a tuko pamoja.
Oh, tuko pamoja. Oh, you do this? Are you sure that's not an insult?
Sindio, tuko pamoja na ngumi ni mbwegze.
Tuko pamoja.
Yeah.
Benson mbwegze.
What is that? I want to know what it
means two.
Two?
Yeah, so ngumi ni moja, mbwegze ni mbili. So, yeah.
It's like a double fist pump.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't mean anything else. So relax.
My friend, do you know how many compromising situations verbally I've been put in, especially when I didn't understand colloquialism? My friend, that's why I'm very cautious. You can't tell me, just say, okay, and somebody hears that I'm abusing them. I'm not doing what? Not boarding.
Not boarding.
Until I'm sure and very sure. Lakini si mko salama? Wewe wacha tusalimie Aseto vizuri sana kwanza. Aseto, good morning.
Good morning.
Wewe iko salama?
Kabisa,
karibu.
Nashukuru. Asante sana.
Okay, that's not how the song goes.
But anyway. Just go.
No, it's I was putting the melody with other words. It doesn't go. It doesn't go, so forget it. Hey, this life, I'm telling you guys. Hey.
The week is low.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
That means tomorrow is Thursday and the week is over.
Yeah, at least for Okari. You dey Chris?
I be you dey Chris. You know what's in the talk when they ask you whether you
I don't feel like Wednesday has already started.
Okay, well, let's wait for the proverb. That should, brighten things up just a little bit.
It should, eh?
I was going to sing a song for you, but now I've forgotten what I wanted to sing.
A song for me? Wow.
About life.
About life?
Yeah.
Okay. You're about to make my Wednesday.
I can't remember the song I was going to sing.
A moment of silence.
The memory of a goldfish is upon me. Look, I'll remember it later. And then in the middle of it, I can even start singing. Don't worry. Irregardless of who is here. So, good that we're all here this morning. Good morning. This is the Situation Room and confirming that everybody is A-OK. The weather is a bit chilly this morning. It's a bit of a frost, but we move regardless. Cindy, Lydia, today is the day that you're supposed to come and show yourself. And Raniar is back. Raniar was under the weather. Lydia, good morning. Raniar was under the weather. The weather was here. Raniar was here. But he's now trying to be...
To level
what
up.
did you say that thing is called? With the weather. You see, I'm a very fast learner.
Just don't say that lazima iwak because it's not working. Let's move on.
Where is Eve?
Eve. I don't know. We'll find her. Don't worry. She's small, I know. She can disappear under the table, but we can find her.
I'm trying to locate her under the table.
She'll stand.
Please stand up. Anyway, our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Good morning. Am I lying? Are they on YouTube and Facebook and X? Did I tell the truth? No? At least YouTube. Cinder, okay, she's giving me the thumbs up. So everywhere live stream, so click in somewhere. And also our audience on KTN, good morning to everybody at 6 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. D&D here with you, getting into conversations that matter and conversations that will essentially form action and discourse alongside, a number of the other things that we do. Now, let me tell you the conversations that we'll be having this morning, and then, prepares you to then be able to plug in. Amanam Nagani, my friends. So, we know that yesterday, was it yesterday? Yes, no, actually it was a couple of days ago, and IPRA did the thing. And fuel has risen significantly by at least 7 shillings, depending on product, between 7 and 9 shillings. So that goes from kerosene to petrol and then to diesel. So we see the prices of those rise significantly. And we're going to be having a conversation at 9 o'clock with Martin Chomba, who is the chairman of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. He joins us at 9. Let's do things backtracking, shall we? Have you heard of OSH? You've heard of OSH?
Yes.
Yeah, OSH, I think, is present in any company, really. Yeah. And in terms of the status of OSH in the country, Jariah Mora, who is a human capital advocate, and Vivian Boaz is a vice chairman of the WSPAK. They both join us at 8 o'clock for a conversation around the status of OSH in the country. We're finding out what that is all about. Nominated Senator Veronica Maina is going to be talking about lawlessness and constitutionalism. She's going to join us with that conversation at 7 o'clock this morning. So we go 7 with lawlessness, constitutionalism, and then we go into OSH at 8, and then we round things out with petrol, what it means, where are we going, and we'll have a look at all of this in good time. So karibuni sana as we talk these things important to do this morning.
Yes.
From Lagos to Lamu. Okay. Today's proverb is, tell us.
So today's proverb. But before we get to the proverb, let's talk about the Nigerian entertainment sector, specifically music. And we talk about music, so there are different genres when you talk about music. So there is the traditional music, which features instruments like the talking drum, the shakers, and kora. Each ethnic group, so we talk about the Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa, have unique musical styles and rhythm. Then we have high life, we have juju music. Now, juju music was developed by the Yoruba using talking drums, guitars, and percussions. And then we have Afrobeat, which is pioneered by Fela Kuti, blending traditional Nigerian music with jazz, funk, and high life. Now, when you talk about Fela Kuti, his role in the music sector in Nigeria is really, really huge. You talk about his music speaking to the political class at the time, Obasanjo, and some of the songs that he sang to criticize the leadership at the time include zombie, water, no get enemy, sorrow, tears and blood, and a coffin for head of state. And these actually spoke to the leadership style at the time, calling on end of corruption, proper governance for the people of Nigeria. And you can't talk of Nigerian music and not mention Fela Kuti, because even the modern day Afrobeat musicians like Abana Boy have borrowed heavily from Fela Kuti's style. So, and here now he has a new Africa shrine in Lagos that has been put there to just celebrate Fela Kuti's music and his presence.
Is it the fellow who did the song na 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 na? You get the song?
Now go. Go now.
Is it the one?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You know the song you're talking about?
Yeah, now bring it out with your beautiful voice.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning. When we start singing those things, Lydiah up and down.
Just hum the song.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's go to the proverb of the day. Now, it is the frog does not run in the daytime for nothing. The frog does not run in the daytime for nothing.
That proverb. The frog
does not run in the daytime for nothing. If you see a frog running around in the day, I'm not talking about toads, a frog in the daytime running around, there has to be a reason why.
Yeah.
You want to go first to the interpretation?
Yeah, I imagine that if you see me doing something out of sorts, what you know me to be, or what you know, or how I operate, then if you see me doing something differently, then you ought to know that either something is wrong or something is about to be different, or something is about to be wrong. You know, it's like you say, if a dog bites a man, that's not news. But when a man bites a dog, that's something out of the ordinary. So something is up.
Yes.
You know, if we behave out of character, then we're going to ask questions. Or if we see something out of character, then we'll be shocked. You know. Yeah, frogs actually don't.
They don't run around during
the day.
Frogs only show up during the rainy season, or when
night.
And at night.
You rarely hear a frog, like you rarely see a frog jumping around during the day.
For me, my interpretation would be a bit different. I think the first line was when?
The frog does not run in the day for nothing.
And if it does, my interpretation is it signals something is about to happen.
Yes.
So if you see a frog during the daytime, or frogs during the daytime, then it signals that
it's gonna rain.
It's gonna rain. So sometimes nature just speaks back to us. So there's a way, if you pay attention, you know, in the old they used to say, this is how to tell it's about to rain. When you see certain birds, you know, just appear.
Around, yes.
It's called Loko Loko Pango, that bird you're talking about.
Loko Loko Bango.
Pango.
That's Nigerian.
It's a white bird. When you see it flying, just know it's come from where the clouds have actually gathered. So it's moving. So you know that rain is
coming. So if you don't understand why, or don't understand, it's the same thing with the vultures. I think when you see vultures
hovering around,
there's a carcass, or there's something dead,
or something about to die.
Exactly. So with the frogs, it signals something is about to happen.
Yeah. It also reminds me of a dog. Whenever there is, say, earthquake is coming, because of them being on ground, they feel the vibrations before anything else. So you would actually just sit and look at the behaviors of dogs and realize something is coming. Also with their good sniffing or whatever. Whenever there is an animal that is usually not in the vicinity, say there's a leopard around, a dog will always tell you in advance.
You can also make it political. Like look at where we are in the country. The shedding of tears, spilling of blood, lives lost. If you look historically, any generation that goes through something like this, it signals that there's something bubbling under and there's about to be an eruption of something.
Yeah.
You know?
And I just go back to the president's statements whenever he says, hawa watoto wenu ongeni na wao. They are used to watoto kuheshimu watu wazima. But when hawa watoto now get out of character and are not listening and are keep insisting on something over and over again, they are out of character. Something.
So in this case, it would be the frog.
Yes.
Okay.
In this case, it would be the frog. Yes. Kwa ufupi. So, I want to greet people because I know many people online this morning getting into it. In the middle of it, it's Young Jedi. Young Jedi says, of course, he's saying good morning. Good morning to you, Young Jedi. And I'm just assuming that Young Jedi is a guy. Sorry, the patriarchy is real. And he says he's never heard of the name Raniar. And I actually thought about the same thing myself. It's a unique name for a unique guy. Sindo. So you're being greeted, Kabisa, this morning. And just getting into it and saying, you guys who make things happen in the back room are always doing a wonderful job. And I concur completely. So you guys, we don't say it enough, but thank you so much for putting this together. It really does make a difference for us to then be able to do this. We can be here, giving thought and words, but to get the wheels of the engine moving behind the scenes is something that we don't take for granted. So asante for doing that. Kujitolea yani kabisa every morning. Thank you. Have you guys heard the way I'm speaking Swahili? Please, hats off. Thanks. So, other people in the room this morning, let's say a very good morning to you. If I can just get my technology to do the thing, it would be fantastic. And I know that even as you tune in, waiting for conversations, that's what we do right here. Sawa sawa. So, good morning to you. I see Don Sabo is already in the room this morning. Good morning. And Robert Mbogo is also tuned in from Mombasa as well. And saying good morning to our peeps. Carol Nyambura tuned in this morning as well. Tunakupenda sana pia. Thank you for being here every morning. Okay, so Don's question is, Ati Jose Camargo spotted around IBC. Ndu, good morning. Good morning. Okari, how are you?
Fine,
Aseto Mambo. Firi. Who is this Jose Aseto? Is IBC already captured? Captured. Okay, we'll ask that question and we'll ask.
You don't remember who that guy is?
Of course I remember. Okay. It's not me. It's in the question. I'm actually finishing the statement.
Okay.
R says, hiya, ndio, twende. Desmond says, hey, I don't want to butcher this language.
Nindgikwe KK.
Okay, boss.
Nindgikwe is usually like rest in peace. So KK was a comedian.
Okay, yeah, all right. That's for sure. There, rest in peace, for sure. Karibu Sana, thank you so much. Robert Mbogo, we see you. Hello and good morning, Team Spice FM. This is from Jose Mahinda. Agola says it's Wednesday. Good morning, Watu. Good morning, sister. Hilary Ogato says good morning. King Dave Wa Mwegai. Good morning, great ones. Good morning to you too, sir. Hisa Daniel is tuned in and says, good morning, Team Spice. Cyprian Kambuni is tuned in from Dayton in Minnesota. Eric Owar says, good morning, guys. Dr. Venvik is tuned in from Tudor. Isa Kale says, good morning, Team Spice. See this addiction now? Up and early, waiting for you guys. Baraka Tele. It's a good one. This is the one I say, don't go to rehab. This one, stay there. Inject Kabisa. Rogers Nyange says, good morning. Rogers, where have you been? General Isa Mavenge tuned in from Diani in Ukunda, I beg your pardon. Beatrice Omamwa says good morning as well. And Kimathi Nkrumah McConnell. Habaria Spice, Yaleo Spice family. Spice FM, where the news is always transparent and totally honest. Ubuntu na umoja. Indeed, Fiery Red, good morning. D&D and Spice FM team tuning in from Accra. Oh, okay. And trying both Ghana and Niger Jollof. The latter wins. You see? You know what you're talking about. May the gods forever bless you. Jimmy Gakio says good morning. James Kamweru is tuned in this morning. Christina, hey, good morning. Christina, I just want to say that, the comment that you made yesterday during the conversation that we had was very difficult for you to do, I can imagine. And I just want to pray that the grace that you need to then be able to get to the many years after such a tumultuous event that you will have abundantly. And thank you for being so open and raw and honest with us yesterday. And even as you continue to join in these conversations, may you have the peace that you need. And there's nothing that cannot be healed. And may you truly, truly heal.
We send her flowers,
Absolutely. Yeah. So Christina, take those from us this morning. And you say you cried seeing the burial of the kids crying at Bridget's burial yesterday. That was one of the most moving things I've ever seen. That he buried a girl and the people who were around her were her age. And they were imagining so many things, but the hurt that was bouncing off of that funeral yesterday doesn't need to happen for anything to anybody. Agola, yes, we see what you're trying to say there. Nyakwara says, he says Mbombo. Who says Mbombo? And Mambo Bam Bam. Okay, here we go. Isaac Nduri tuning from Luxembourg. How does the president feel when children are in tears burying baby Bridget from gunshots? It's got to be a question. Amani tuned in from Oslo. Nyakwera says Mwake. What are these now? Kavoy Felix is tuned in this morning from Kathonzweni. I've been there, by the way. You won't believe it, but I have. Abuto Kamla says, good morning, DND. Ndu, leo ndio ile siku ya Lydiah and the associates kufanya likitu. Sindio, I told them yesterday, you guys, you have fallen my hand. I'll just be giving you phrases in pidgin. Una don't fall my hand. Well. See? I made a promise and now they're making me look like I don't keep my promises. Kabade says, good morning, DND. Looking forward to great conversations today. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Watching from Mombasa. Bonnie Lake, Washington is where Joe Mungai is tuned in and says, hi, Dennis, Tu and Ndu. Tony Gashoka thinks our universities are inferior. Hey. Sunflower, good morning, dears, and a happy day. Ambaka Kilinga says, good morning, Double D and Ndu. Hey, there's one. Cyrus is tuned in. Guten Morgen, Spices. Yes, in absentia CT. Gilbert Kimuga says good morning from Tampere in Finland. Keep doing great job, lady and gentlemen. Agro Nexus is tuned in from County 014. Which County 014, Dennis Okari?
014 is which county?
It's in Mount Kenya.
It's in Mount Kenya.
Keep giving it a think while we greet Young Jedi. We see you. Good morning. Patrick Mutinda says good morning. Stanley Ngashe tuned in from the foothills of Mount Kilimambogo.
That is Embu County.
Which one? 14?
014, yes.
Oh, okay. Sawa. The sister said good morning. Looking forward to a better day. It can always be a better day. Always be a better day. Michael Olande says good morning and says he uses the proverbs for people who disappear and only come when they have a problem. It's true. Juris Tiriwa is tuned in and says good morning. The frog is already jumping across. Zindio, already Team Spice says has done. Let's get through, people. Douglas Arisi says good morning. Loud of Philip is here as well. Dennis Otachi, I am Gail. Danstan Langat tuned in as well. Ken John Newton is here. The Music Fix, good morning all day, every day, bro. Francis Kenyan is tuned in. Kenyan is here as well. Long one, we'll get into it. Rahimtullah Omar tuned in from Nairobi. Paul Courier is here. Ben Aduda is tuned in. Liam Footy is tuned in as well. Chep Cheer Bet says good morning. You're doing a good job, guys. Thank you so much. You're tuned in from Mombasa. Mugula Chengenye says good morning. Nathan Tirop is tuned in as well. And you say that the temperature in Kinangop is 10 degrees. Ooh, yummy. Grace Nguyo says good morning, and Pulsative says we are here on from where? Jamaica. I watched the clip of the former president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta. Says he had greetings. He had just come from Jamaica, and he did it in the accent. He was a fun guy, that one, wasn't he? All right, so guys, good morning, everybody. Karibuni sana. Good to have you in the room, and let's have these conversations, shall we? Let's look into the newspaper headlines. The headlines that are making the news today on Kenya's bold newspaper. The Standard, reign of anarchy, from burnt hospitals to brazen looting. Kenya is spiraling into a state of orchestrated anarchy, fueled not by criminals in the shadows, but by power-hungry elites in plain sight. As goons terrorize citizens and vigilantes rise in retaliation, the government issues threats with one hand and shields allies with the other. With 2027 polls looming, what the country is witnessing isn't just unrest, it's a chilling rehearsal. That's on the headlines today. Let's look at that in numbers, shall we? 42 is the number of those killed on June 25th and July 7th. This is the government's account, with the activists saying at least 57 have died. 600 is the number of people who were injured in the protests, with Interior CS Murkomen claiming the bulk, 496, were police officers. Okay. 1,500 those in police custody arrested in retaliation to the demos, rather in relation to the demos, while a majority were released. 121 face charges ranging from terrorism to arson. Okay, so that takes up a lot of the headline, and we're looking into it. some things that might shock you, or you will not be like a frog jumping in the day, because seems like it's the modus operandi. Court declares state takeover of Gatoto School in Mukuru illegal. How officers shot senior detective's son walking home on Sabasaba Day. Girl tears as girl killed by stray bullet is laid to rest. Shall we go on? Let me tell you what else it looks like. How ghost students and schools gobbled up. How ghost students and schools gobbled up 3.7 billion shillings in capitation. The schools don't exist, neither do the students, but in Nemis, which is now Kemis, they are there somehow and they receive money. God have mercy, I beg. Help deficit locks out 160,000 from funding. You see that 3.7 billion? Okay. Kenya's rapid slide into anarchy raises fears of violence in 2027 election. It goes on and on and on and on and so those are the headlines that we're looking at into the Standards today. Really quickly, let's look into the sports pages. Okay. Just because I saw something there I thought was interesting. Things are falling down. But 4 women athletes to watch at Tokyo World. So the journey to Japan is intensifying for athletes around the world, with just 2 months to go to the World Athletics Championships. We know that it's a biannual event, and now all roads head to Tokyo, and they're talking about Beatrice Chebet, Shelley Ann Fraser-Price, Sembo Almayu, and Prudence Segodisio. Can never pronounce her name, but they're saying in the worlds, these are the women to watch because they've got something to offer, and in a few months we'll be watching the world run, basically. All right, we'll look into some of those details of those stories while Dennis tells us what's in the nation.
Yeah, let's go to the Daily Nation, and the headline that carried the paper: scandal of stolen free school funds. Now, the Office of Auditor General has exposed shocking fraud that saw 33 non-existent schools receive billions of shillings in the past 4 years, even as thousands of public primary and secondary institutions across the country teeter on the brink of closure due to underfunding that has piled up to a staggering 117 billion shillings. And Fahima Abdallah, new IEBC vice chairperson, is a young woman of many fasts. And Quebec joins Spain's Celta Vigo B team on a 4-year deal. Teen sensation set sights on La Liga. And we have that sad story of a pathologist request more time to conduct post-mortem on body of woman who died in prison custody. Although 3 pathologists observed bleeding in her brain, they concluded that it did not appear traumatic enough to have caused her death. So what exactly caused her death? Pathology says, give us more time. Murkomen, some senior politicians face probe over protest. This adds 1,500 people arrested and facing charges after terrorism. There are politicians who have already been charged with terrorism-related offences, and others have been summoned. You go to pages 2 and speaks of the 133,000 children miss key vaccines as coverage falls, according to the new report. This is the vaccine on rubella, HPV. So we have PSC begins process of hiring registrar of political parties to replace Nderitu. Where did Nderitu go? IEBC. Now, Help Chief as well says 163,000 missed loans due to cash constraints, and inconsistency in agency figures angers lawmakers, including Murkomen, politicians being probed on the same. So it's just a repetition of stories that are both that is in the Standard as well. So Okari, what do you have on the Star?
Well, the Star has a very, very chilling headline. I was actually reading details of that story, and I would want to get my hand on that report. But lobby group says officers, these are police officers, trailed and targeted protesters during Sabasaba, and the police fired from ambulances during Sabasaba. That's now in the probe. So, the story, which is on page 2, police used unmarked vehicles and ambulances to trail and target protesters for shooting during the Sabasaba demonstrations, according to a preliminary report by a consortium of human rights organizations released on Tuesday. So the Police Reform Working Group has also claims that police used sexual violence as part of brutal force deployed against protesters on July 7th, especially in places like Kajiado and Kiambu. It goes ahead and details a lot of things that happened then, but in the update, the entities revealed that the investigations in key hotspots of violence uncovered that armed plainclothes men operated in unmarked vehicles with ambulances trailing them. A fact-finding mission reviewed video footage and collected numerous eyewitness accounts documenting grave violations from Ngong and nearby towns in Kajiado County, including Rongai, Kitengela, and Kiserian. The findings cite violations including the use of live ammunition against unarmed civilians, extrajudicial executions, disappearances, and unlawful arrests. So witnesses reported that armed men, suspected members of the National Police Service or affiliated security units, arrived in unmarked Subaru SUVs with no license plates, issued aggressive commands, and indiscriminately fired live ammunition at both protesters and bystanders, and some of them were actually in ambulances. Whoa.
My lord.
What do you even say after that?
I nothing.
Like, so unmarked vehicles and then ambulances. And so these unmarked cars and these cops were hiding between these unmarked cars and ambulances and shooting at protesters. Who would suspect, coming from an ambulance, that would happen? Anyway, a man jailed for 40 years for killing woman with a stone. So there's a man who killed a woman using a heavy stone in front of his children, and he will now serve 40 years in prison. Moses Muriithi was sentenced to life imprisonment in 2018, but the Court of Appeal in Nyeri has reduced the sentence. The killing happened on October 7th, 2016. The victim, Mary Ntama, had gone to a women's meeting. She was later attacked and killed at Muriithi's home. Witnesses told the court that Muriithi slapped and kicked her before hitting her with a 10-kilogram fireplace stone in front of the daughter. The daughter, who's 13, was one of the key witnesses, and she told the court her father had earlier quarreled with her mother. She fell after being slapped. He kicked her in the stomach, then he took a huge stone and hit her on the head, the girl said. Such horror. Nyoro decries soaring fuel prices, secretive borrowing. Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro has criticized the recent surge in fuel prices, dismissing the government's explanation as misleading and incomplete. That story on the audit bombshell, capitation funds to schools stolen. It's also in the Star. Wetangula hails Ruto's mass hiring of teachers. So, Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, has praised President William Ruto's administration for what he describes as historic investment in the education sector. He cited large-scale recruitment of teachers to enhance learning outcomes, and he says this is the most ambitious teacher recruitment drive since independence. That's Weta for you. And MPs counter Ruto efforts to hobble officials profiting from state trade. So, members of parliament say it's acceptable for public officials to do business with government, despite allegations of conflict of interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So, looking into some stories in detail, shall we? You want to know how 3.7 billion shillings that's supposed to be towards capitation is gobbled up? Well, let me tell you. Auditor General Nancy Gathungu has exposed how government disbursed billions of shillings to ghost students in capitation to non-existent schools for 4 financial years from 2020 to 2024. A special report tabled before the National Assembly Public Accounts Committee yesterday shows how ghost students in 723 schools gobbled up 3.7 billion shillings in capitation due to irregularities in actual number of students registered in the National Education Management Information System, otherwise known as NEMIS. It also details how 33 of a sampled 83 schools were non-existent and received capitation to the tune of 25.59 million shillings. I'm telling you guys, it looks like a movie, but it's real life. It's right here. The ghost schools are in the system. But when we went to the ground, we did not find them. So they are getting capitation, but education officers could not show us where they exist, according to Justice Ochieng, who's the Director Audits of the Office of the Attorney General. The special report on capitation and infrastructure grants in schools shows a comparison of the number of students registered in NEMIS and the individual sampled school students register established instances where the number of students registered in NEMIS differed. So look, every time that you do a national exam, your NEMIS number is what you register with. Okay? So that means you are in the system. So what we are saying now is that NEMIS numbers have been given to air. They don't exist. Now, what this also means that NEMIS, when we talk about capitation, it is applied not to somebody that we can see, not Dennis Aseto, but it is applied to a NEMIS number, and that every school gives the numbers into the Ministry of Education, and then that is applied into the system. So what has been happening over time is that NEMIS numbers have been given to Casper and his friends because these people don't exist. They've also been given to Casper's house because when they went to the ground to look for Bononyo Secondary School, they could not find it because it didn't exist. They found what? Oxygen, just there, mixing with carbon dioxide. The schools don't exist. However, in 4 years, 3.7 billion shillings has gone to what? Casper and his friends and their houses. And then you want to tell me that we are going to heaven?
Atuone mbinguni.
I'm telling you.
There are people who will not see heaven.
How?
But you see, this is not the first time this story is coming out.
It's not.
It's just that we repeat this mismanagement or looting of this kitty, but we've had previous funds gone through the same way, and the whole idea of NEMIS was to, and the reason why it was introduced is to eliminate ghost learners and ghost schools. That was the whole purpose of the system. So in this conversation is the problem technology, because you introduce technology to try help you then clear some of these things, but earlier audits have revealed this has happened before. 2019, there was a report by the then Auditor General Okoh, and they flagged the Ministry of Education. Now this was at that level, and they could not account for millions of free primary, free day secondary schools.
Yes.
Your story ilienda wapi? Ilikunywa maji. Money was traced to non-existent schools. Like officers were going to a place, let's say they're going to Kajiado. So money is going to 17 schools in Kajiado, and this is in millions. They go to the ground, and through the investigations, and when they're coming up with a report, they find only 3 schools. The other schools are clearly registered in the system, and money had been going to those schools through the years, through that same system. So out of 17, 3.
My question is...
So there is somebody who sits somewhere and decides to, corruption has gone to extreme levels where somebody can wake up, manipulate the system, pass some money here and there, and you can come up with Dennis Ndu and Dennis Primary School.
Yes.
You register students.
Yes.
Actual names.
Yes.
With their details.
Yes.
Guardians, parents, and everything.
Birth
certificates are forged.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're in a system, and we will say our school has how many learners?
200.
200 learners. So money has to come to the school to help fund these 200 non-existent students. So if you're trying to look at the rot with this whole thing, it's not so much about the technology.
It's not.
We have the best technology in this country to do...
to clean up the system.
Yes. But the technology is not created to clean the system. The technology itself is to also mint money. Because to deploy this system, you need money. So you will inflate prices to get the system in place, and the system in a computer, it will just not work. So somebody will deliberately feed it. These are not... this is not a pedestrian who will just walk in and create this.
Yeah.
You have to understand how the system works. You have to be part of that ecosystem for you to get in and come up with the name of a school and register students and begin to receive money. So if you start to look at the rot and the corruption, you start from whichever direction, from the top, bottom up. these people know each other.
Yeah, because you see, when you talk about these schools and looking at the history on money being lost in fictitious schools that don't exist, there is always the aspect of where did the money go to, because it is attached to a certain account and this account is registered to someone. This conversation always ends up on there is a ghost school, ghost student, there is money that is lost, but where did the money go to? Because money always has trail. You can always, paper trail is always there when it comes to money.
They say money speaks.
Yes, money speaks. So why are we not following on these footprints that are there on where this money went to know who exactly is behind these entire?
And you know, in the previous reports, where they're trying to look at the weak links, it's not a question of manipulating or creating a weak verification process through NEMIS. That it's beyond that. The collusion and these characters I'm talking about, you start from school heads, you go to education officers
Who are
and
around the
ministry,
country.
and ministry staff.
County directors.
It is not some regular guy walking on the street. No, it is these people within that same circle, because they will know how many schools do we have in a certain location, how much money is going to that exact region. So then, if you find Kisumu or a certain area has 10, another area has 3, increase ya tatu tuweke kwe 7.
And then, you know, when you look at even in terms of audit queries that one would just ask simply is, this school never appears in drama festival, music festival, in sports and everything. This school never appears anywhere, but is only on paper whenever we are giving disbursement to these schools and to these students. But in any other activity that involves the government of Kenya, equals 0. We never ask these questions.
Guys, I'm looking at a report here. An example, in Kakamega County, the 2021-2022 report around the same subject, the Auditor General flagged several non-existent schools in Kakamega that received capitation funds. In some sub-counties, schools listed in the NEMIS database could not be physically traced during verification visits. Hii shule kwa ikiwa hakuna. You ask villagers, kuna shule inaitwa Dennis Ndu and Dennis School, hakuna shule kama hiyo.
Inakuanga huku.
Names were not released. Look at this. Names were not released, but MPs from that area called for their deregistration. So you see where the collision also points. So the names they were not allowed to say these names, but the MPs were saying at the time, those names or those schools that you are saying are non-existent. Deregistered them.
My next question would be, MP, how much money CDF did you disburse to these non-existing schools?
Exactly. But
200 million.
But do you see the problem here? That there's this whole chain of corruption. There's this whole chain of criminal. Look, let's call it what it is.
Criminal
there's
enterprise.
There's this criminal enterprise that's operating in the ministry, not anywhere else. It is in the Ministry of Education, right? 3.7 billion shillings in 4 years. Do we need to tell you what that could actually have done? Remember that they are defunding education this year because there's just not enough money. But then you want to tell me what's 3.7 divided by 4 goes to almost 1 billion shillings.
Yes.
Almost 1 billion shillings every year that could have gone towards this. We're defunding education in 2025.
Yes.
Right? We're getting to the point whereby it's very possible that you will ask parents to subsidize the exam fees that are necessary to be paid by everybody. Necessary. That you're going to soon start probably asking people that this free, the Julius Ogamba told us, that it's very possible that free education will be a thing of the past because they just don't have the resources. Meanwhile, 1 billion shillings is disappearing every year to schools that are poof in the air.
If you read these details, an example, Garissa Mandera, in 2020, during an MS verification, officials found fake student records tied to schools. Now, this is the other side of this corruption. Tied to schools that were either abandoned, dilapidated, or used for other purposes, example, mosques and private homes. We are talking about 2,000 students in that report. 2,000 students were in NEMIS and they were not found on the ground. 2,000. They don't exist. And all these 2,000, there was money that was going to each of them.
How much is a student allocated? It's 22,000 and something, right?
Well, it's according to it's 22,000, but then they docked 5,000, which is held at the ministry, and then so now it's about 17,442, if I'm not wrong.
So you multiply that by 2,000, right? Talking about 34,884,000.
34 million.
Yeah.
This is only in Garissa and Mandera counties.
Yes.
Hatujaingia Kisii, hatujaingia Nyamira, hatujaingia Bomet, hatujaingia, I mean, the wastage. Wow. It's not that Kenya doesn't have money. Yeah. We have a lot of money. But the money that goes into corruption it's beyond abomination. You can't even fathom. When you look at these discrepancies, and you see, the thing about the government audit reports, they are often redacted. They're often redacted or generalized school names so that they can allow internal disciplinary mechanisms to work. That's why you will rarely find these names unless you really investigate and dig deep. You will not hear the names. You'll just be told 200 non-existent schools. But when you go to ask for the names, you will not get. Now, some of the school heads are under disciplinary or criminal investigations, and their schools are protected from public naming to avoid lawsuits. And a lot of these people are protected by politicians. So the thing is, as a head, I will go to my area MP.
Yeah.
How much money did you say that is?
34 million. 884.
Now assume from the 34 million, there's 10 million or 5 million going to school. I look for my area MP and say, ukienda bunge, jaribu kunitetea hii maneno. Give, you know how they say, in corruption, you also have to budget for money for bribery.
Yeah.
You just have to foresee a situation. If you are arrested, how much money are you willing to spend to now bribe?
To sort out everybody.
Yeah, to sort out.
Quiet.
Then, ile yako unabakisha ni ngapi? You have to factor in corruption money in the event you are arrested. In the event you need to get a bail.
You need to get a lawyer.
You need to get a lawyer. How much money are you going to spend? Yeah. So, when you look at this whole... It's a criminal enterprise.
It is a criminal enterprise. But imagine what 3.5 billion shillings would do to the education sector, just that alone. Because you're talking about 5 billion shillings being removed because you don't have money for exams, you know. Here we're talking about 3.5 billion shillings that is just lost. Now factor in other monies that have just disappeared, because here we're talking about allocation from the government. You're not talking about how much an MP spent to go to these fictitious schools. So we're talking about close to other billions again from MPs who are also sending bursaries to these schools. So
if we can register fake students to do exams and head teachers. In 2016, Western, Northeastern Kenya, dozens of non-existent students were registered to sit for KCPE. Now, the head teachers at the time collected exam fees, but students were never presented. You talk about the textbook scandal within the Ministry of Education. The textbook scandal, books sent to non-existent students. At the end, at the time, World Bank was supporting the project. So you get money for textbook to send to marginalized areas. You get money to buy books. Now, when you get money to buy books, the program was to distribute millions of textbooks to schools. Now, investigations found that thousands of books were delivered to ghost schools or to schools with fewer students. Hizi vitabu zilipotea wapi? These are the same books that were sold to other schools. Or somebody, a headmaster opens a bookshop.
Thank you.
So, and what happens is, you want to buy books for these children, we want you to buy these particular books from this particular shop. But the shop is owned by who?
The
head teacher, the headmaster, or somebody.
The head teacher's wife.
Yes.
Or brother.
Do you see now why it is so difficult to even envision how we'll get out of this thing? Because just look at this chain, from the education officer to the very top at ministry. Then you want to say, oh, things are in a shambles, we don't have money. You are siphoning the money every year. And let me tell you, see this thing that we're talking about here, this 3.7 billion shillings, it's gone. The people who, I'm sure they can trace it, they will not return it. It will not come back. We still have problems today. We are going to we're finishing second term. Capitation never finished. I'm telling you the truth. They've not finished sending money from the ministry. We don't know what's going to happen in third term. KCPE is done. KPSEA and KCSE are happening at the end of this year. Have they defunded it to the point whereby Have they told us where examination money is going to come from? They have not. You guys, when we talk about lamentations, and we say that even lamentations ended, unfortunately, this is where we are.
Yeah.
3.7 billion shillings. We'll do the math one day. We'll bring Sipin Nyamweya here. He'll count for us and he'll tell us this is what it could actually do. And we can be here saying that there's no money.
That's money getting into people's pockets.
Oh, yes, that should be educating children.
Yeah.
And we're talking about that fund.
That's
we've
just that
we've
fund.
not even gone to now school projects where money is stolen.
Nope.
There was a school construction scam in 2020 where 3 million for pit latrines, no oversight.
Yeah.
A school comes up with projects. We want to dig pit latrines for our students. Those pit latrines don't exist. Money gets into somebody's pocket.
Yeah.
And these are reports that are out in the public. So when the Auditor General, Nancy Gathungu, comes out, it almost feels like she comes with a book of lamentations. Let me open this book of lamentations. Let me tell you how much money has been stolen from you.
Yeah.
So we've lost this number of... we lost count when you talk about a billion.
Yeah.
What a billion can
It doesn't shock you anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't shock you anymore. A million used to, a billion. We're waiting for them to tell us 100 billion. Then now maybe something will happen.
Yeah.
Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lao Ubaga. 3 KDF officers have died while 7 others sustained injuries after an improvised explosive device exploded at Bada area on the Kiunga-Sankuri Road in Lamu County. Lamu East Deputy Commissioner George Kubai said the soldiers were on their way to Sankuri when their vehicle hit an IED. The injured officers are currently being treated at Kiunga Hospital while a massive operation is underway to nab those responsible for planting the IED. The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers are set to hold mass demonstrations today over the collapse of healthcare services in Nairobi County. KUKO Chairperson Peterson Washira says they'll also present a public petition demanding immediate action to address the deteriorating state of public health facility and the county's failure to implement career progression guidelines for its members. The union says these grievances persist despite PSC issuing directives in May 2024 calling for immediate implementation of the career guidelines. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has announced that he'll on Friday issue a formal policy guiding police on the use of force and firearms as he rejected widespread claims that the state runs a police squad carrying out extrajudicial killings. Speaking to reporters in Nairobi, Murkomen said he is not aware of the killer unit.
There is no non-police squad that is involved in killing people, at least not in this administration and not that the cabinet secretary is aware of. It would be unconstitutional and illegal to establish a squad anywhere in Kenya to kill people. All the police formations and units in the republic are intended to protect people, not to kill people.
The 7 Kansas Police Reforms Working Group Kenya revealed that armed men suspected to be members of the National Police Service indiscriminately fired live rounds at protests during the Sabasaba protests. Amnesty International Kenya Executive Director Horton Irungu called on investigative agencies to reveal the identity of the shadowy group which used and marked Subarus.
These shootings occurred in broad daylight and in densely populated areas. They have endangered and they claimed many lives. Soon after the shootings, eyewitnesses have told us that ambulances arrived at the scenes. Some witnesses saw injured bodies being loaded into the ambulances, which were then driven off to unknown locations. Disturbedly, several ambulances were seen trailing the unmarked Subarus, raising serious concerns about the coordination and the purpose of the response.
Former Chief Justice David Maraga has criticized the police for using excessive force during the Gen Z protests, saying they need urgent training on human rights. Speaking on a local TV station, Maraga recounted how he was tear-gassed while participating in the protests in solidarity with the families of the victims. Maraga also criticized the practice of politicians bribing voters to win elections, saying this practice has led to corrupt leaders being elected and then ignoring the interests of the people.
We want to change that. We will change that so that money doesn't count. What should count are expenses. What I'm talking about is giving money to people to vote for you. What is going on around, I don't know what your view is, the empowerment, the so-called empowerment programs. How long are you going to do that?
Maraga also criticized President William Ruto's order to ask police to shoot protesters on the legs, saying such an order incites hostility between the public and the police. And in the international scene, a religious party has quit Israel's ruling coalition in a dispute over military service, leaving Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with a razor-thin majority in parliament, but still enough political support to secure a potential Gaza ceasefire. 6 members of the United Torah Judaism handed in resignation letters overnight from posts in parliamentary committees and government ministries in protest against lawmakers' failure to guarantee future exemption from military conscription for ultra-Orthodox religious students. Shas, a second ultra-Orthodox party closely allied with UTJ, may follow and leave the government with no parliament majority. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Traffic.
All right, Wednesday morning, what do we have in store? Let's take a look at the Thika Superhighway. Traffic coming in heavy through from the Allsops Junction. And even before that, traffic coming in from Kasarani is heavy. We'll get through towards the Muranga Road Junction and we'll see that it gets heavier as you get into the city. It's also starting to build on Kiambu Road, and we are seeing traffic building on Limuru Road as well. It's coming in through Waiyaki Way a little bit as you then get to the junction of Chiromo and then out towards the city. The Southern Bypass looks good. Traffic is flowing freely there as you're getting out of the city and finding your way through to the CBD. There is some traffic on the Eastern Bypass, actually quite some of that. As you get towards North Airport Road, it is going to slow down significantly. There is traffic also on Mombasa Road outbound. The construction slows things down a little bit, but after some time it will dissipate. So if you're in it, Pole, you'll get through it, no problem, but it'll just be slower than usual. We're here for it. We want to keep things moving. Let's talk SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Coming in at 8 minutes after 7 o'clock, this is the Situation Room. It is Kenya's biggest conversation this Wednesday, the 16th of July. I'm getting it right. Okay, we'll tell you who is in the hot seat in just a bit after Mr. Okari tells us that there's a way to connect no matter what.
Oh, yes, and it's 7. So perhaps you're driving to work or you're working from home. Two things that you can't live without in this day and age: power and the internet. And speaking of internet, we want it fast, real fast. So let me give you a plan. If you are experiencing lagging when you're watching videos or your streams are buffering, there's a good solution. And you can definitely make a switch move from 4G to 5G. Now, how do you get connected to 5G? Safaricom is giving you a router which costs 2,999 shillings. The beauty about this, it's portable, meaning if you're driving to work, you can have it in your car, continue using the internet as you're driving to work, or if you're staying at home, you will still enjoy. So it's portable, meaning you can move around with it wherever you want. And where can you get this? You can get this at any Safaricom shop, or visit masoko.com, or go to Quickmart supermarket, or dial star 400 hash and make that switch. Safaricom feels good to be home.
Fantastic. And even as you build your wealth, you can grow it, invest for the future.
Yeah, with Standard Chartered Bank. And Standard Chartered Bank is asking you to just face it, because there's never been a better time to take control of your financial future. But what exactly do we mean? So when we say now is your time for wealth, we're not just throwing about a tagline. We mean what it is we say. We're talking about being deliberate with your money, your goals, and your legacy. Standard Chartered Bank Priority Banking offers a comprehensive approach to managing your finances, meeting both your current lifestyle needs and your future aspirations. Now, whether you're thinking about starting a portfolio or streamlining your assets, the advice is personalized, strategic, and tailored to where you are in life. You just need to walk into a Standard Chartered Bank, talk to the personnel there, and they will guide you on how best to tackle your financial wealth. Now, and we get it. When you've worked hard to build what a partner who's not just competent but consistent, someone who protects that matters and helps you to grow it. That's what you get with Standard Chartered Bank, a solid, trusted partner who understands wealth isn't just about money. It's about the people, values, and futures behind it. Email wealth.ke@sc.com to begin your journey, because your time is now.
Indeed, absolutely. The time is now. And the time is now for us to get into a conversation with a lady who we've looked for some time. But these things always seem to come to light, as they say. And she's here. Nominated Senator Veronica Maina is in the hot seat this morning. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Ndo. Thank you so much for having me on Spice FM today.
Well, thank you for coming.
And good morning to all the listeners. It's really nice to get onto this hot seat. But I guess things are hotter, so I think the space is heating up.
Absolutely. It is, that's for sure.
And you're also on TV.
Yes. Oh, good.
Yes, there you are.
Good morning to all the viewers on KTN. I haven't been on KTN for some time.
Yeah, so now it's a double
to be
whammy.
back.
Yeah, because we killed two birds with one stone here.
That's excellent.
We're getting into it this morning, and there's, like you said, it's hot stuff, it's heavy stuff, and this is the things that we're looking at for us to be able to have sober discourse around some of these things that would lead to then probably even more sober action, and that's what we're talking about today when we talk about lawlessness and constitutionalism. But before we do that, as you may have heard, for that little bird that is on your shoulder, we go around the continent every week and we come and land in a country where we take their proverbs and we want to get the meaning or your interpretation of those proverbs, and Dennis is going to share those with you.
Yeah, and today we're in the West African part of the continent, pretty much. We are in Nigeria, and Nigeria talk about a population of 230 million people with over 250 ethnic groups. In Kenya, we say we have around 40-something ethnic groups. Here we're talking about 250, but we have three major ethnic groups. We have the Hausa Fulani from the north, we have the Yoruba from southwest, and Igbo from southeast. Talk about Nigerians, and there is always that fight of who prepares the best jollof. Who do you think prepares the best jollof? Be careful.
Maybe the
Ghanaians or Nigerians?
Nigerians.
Nigerians, right?
I think Nigerians make very
I'll tell
good
you why.
jollof.
Because their jollof is spicy. The Ghanaian one is sweeter, is mild. But if you want the actual thing, the spicy one.
Actually, they call it pepper. There was a time I was somewhere and pepper became a very big topic. Because all their food has a lot of spice.
Yes. So that's why it actually stands out. But let's go to the proverb of the day. It is equally as hot as pepper, but you will get it.
Let's see.
Yeah. The frog does not run in the daytime for nothing. The frog does not run in the daytime for nothing. How would you interpret that?
You know, a frog ideally does not run. So if it runs, because it hops, a frog hops. So if then a frog is running in the daytime, then it means something very unusual has happened. So I would say then it's an indication, it's a red flag that if it's running, not hopping, there is some danger somewhere. Or there is something so compelling that has caused an unusual occurrence to happen for a frog to run.
And isn't it interesting, it's from Nigeria?
Yes, and I think coming from Nigeria, it's understandable. I've been to Cairo. And I think Abuja, and I saw the population and like the number of people in Nigeria. So when I hear about the frog and the running, then I truly can understand what that would mean.
If you see a frog
coming from all those within the context, because here context is everything.
Yes, absolutely,
isn't it? Context is everything.
This is why we want Dennis Okari, because a frog would appear on this table if he's not.
And it was not hopping. You know, frogs have a web feet. So it's running. It's okay.
All right. I mean,
watch your words, Ndu.
We had a village.
I'll start watching the desk,
Well, Veronica, thank you so much, Senator, for coming. As we're looking into a number of these issues, it's good that we're able to have different voices to share insights around certain things, and that it is necessary for us to have conversations, because if we don't, then we either are okay with the way things are going, or we're not interested.
Yes.
So as we discuss and we're talking about lawlessness and constitutionalism, these have been in the public arena for the longest time. They've been more so in the public arena when we see the protests that have come in place vis-a-vis the hooliganism and the criminality that has been introduced into what is a constitutional process.
Yes.
And the lawlessness that has come as a result of that, unfortunately, has been applied across board. Now, where we are coming to say is that, how do we draw the line, or where do we draw the line, and who ought to be careful about what they say when we're applying these tags across board? And that's where we'd like to start off with you today.
First of all, let me say we have a very robust constitution that was the effort of several Kenyans and different stakeholders who had an opportunity to input into the document before the making of that constitution. And it was a journey that was walked for a very long time by Kenyans. And finally, we had a constitution, initially a draft that was eventually through very serious public participation over a number of years, was then reduced into a constitution that was acceptable, and a referendum, what you would call a referendum or a vote, was taken, and majority of Kenyans decided this was the document that was going to guide our nation, our belief system, our rule of law, and our constitutionalism. And with the kind of effort that was done and the institutions that were inbuilt within the constitution, it was then the belief of every Kenyan that if we are guided by the roadmap of this constitution, then we would have a predictability in terms of our governance system, in terms of our behavior, our political behavior, or our political mannerism. We would then have something that you could even tell someone who doesn't know what Kenya is, that to begin with, you can look at our constitution and begin to understand us as a people and as a nation. Then it gives stipulations because if you look at the background within which this constitution was enacted, it then gave stopgap measures of how to resolve issues that Kenyans felt were ailing them at the time when this constitution was being done. So you'll find a lot of checks and balances were built into the constitution. Now, one of the articles that was input in this constitution was Article 37. This article was put in because when Kenyans were clamoring for constitution and the second liberation, they felt they were not heard enough. There were grievances that they felt the government was not looking into. So I assume when Article 37 was put in, it was supposed to ventilate for anybody who felt dissatisfied with whatever public entity or public institution was around them that did not meet it don't meet the conditions or the stipulations that were provided for under the Constitution. So Article 37 was then supposed to offer the citizen an opportunity to express their grievance and to resolve that grievance in a peaceful manner. Which respected the rights of other Kenyans. Now, what we have seen now with, let me put the Sabasaba on the 25th of June, what we have seen, to me, is not an exercise of that Article 37. It is just something else. It morphed into something else, which is quite unfortunate. Because if I see a protest where you're not holding your placard to indicate what you're dissatisfied about, you're not holding your, they like the tarumbeta. What do you call this tarumbeta?
The
vuvuzela. The ones that they scream outside Parliament. We are used to a certain noise on Tuesday when we come back from recess. There was always the group of either doctors or clinical officers outside Parliament demonstrating several times in a very modest way. Just they'll make the noise, yes, with the vuvuzela, which is acceptable because they are not hurting anybody, they are not throwing a stone or the teachers. But what morphed on 25th of June was a very risky situation for this nation, and we should not allow it. And we should also not be afraid to say this is not what we are looking for, because so many Kenyans are dissatisfied with the manner in which those demonstrations were conducted. But so many Kenyans are afraid to speak out and say, we don't like this and we have to do our business in a different way. For me, maybe I'm an extremist in revolting anything that looks like violence, because as a woman, I have seen the dimensions that violence take when it looks, you look at women and children. The person who suffers most first is the women. And I'm not saying that men don't suffer. Men actually do suffer, because many times they may also face the gun when something goes very wrong and they are demonstrating. And I think majority of the people who go out there to demonstrate are men and young men. For me, I would say women. Women. Lately, we have many more women. Actually, lately we have seen many more women. But unfortunately, after the demos were done, after 25th, we were shocked to see on social media some men boasting that they raped women. They actually put it on social media. And definitely it's not all men. It's a few rotten eggs in the basket that made it so bad that a right to demonstrate went to an extent of women being removed from motorbikes to be raped or defiled. And then I also saw videos of some of the demonstrators who engaged in criminal activity. They even entered estates, residential. Can you imagine that? Residential estates were invaded. We had burning and looting. We had police stations burned down. I know people might be angry, but if you ask me, one of the most difficult situations for a country to be at is when you find that ordinary citizens have found it easy to even burn down a police station.
But Senator, were the people who did these things that you mentioned, burning down police stations, robbing or stealing from shops and all of this, which, if again we're in the minority, can we lump them together and say that these individuals who formed these groups were part of the larger group who was protesting for a particular thing? Were they the same people?
I would hesitate to answer whether they are the same, because what you happen is a criminal element that wants to take advantage of a situation
assimilates
yes, you pretend that they are protesting because that's the easiest way to get access.
So then can we blanketly then call the demonstrations or the protests criminal in nature across board?
I would not call them that, because some of the people, even when you look at the profile of some of the people who went to the streets, some are not criminals. Some genuinely woke up saying, we are going to picket, we are going to demonstrate. And you know, when you hype young people, they will actually say, even students, like when there is a riot in a campus, those are not criminals. They are people who are thinking, I have a cause to go to the street with. But what happened is, that situation then offered an opportunity for a person who would want to camouflage, a criminal who would want to camouflage with different intentions to infiltrate the demonstrators and then commit the criminality. Because the one thing we cannot deny in this age of technology and cameras all over and people having phones where they video, we cannot deny that entities, institutions were invaded, businesses were robbed. There was wanton destruction of property. We cannot deny that, because it also came on social media. And you know, what we also need to understand now is that even for demonstrators, assuming you are demonstrating along Moi Avenue or along Kenyatta, along one of the streets in Nairobi, one of the things we need to understand now, there are cameras all over.
Absolutely.
Meaning, if something goes off and you're part of a group that is invading a supermarket, just an analysis and a review, forensic review of some of those cameras and footages, imagine that you lead the investigators to your door. They can actually capture the face, get back into the database, check even with the registrar of persons, and they can pick you by the ID.
And yet, Senator,
and with the
they
AI,
don't. And yet, Senator, they don't. And that was leading to now when I want to stop you on that point,
fair,
when we look at these, some of these pictures that you talk about, because cameras captured them, we actually do see police, law enforcement alongside these would-be goons. So one would also ask, with that picture that we see so clearly, I mean, I'm sure if we looked hard enough in a few minutes, Lydiah could pull that up here in for us to see at the same time. But then the question would be here that, would you acknowledge, would you agree that there was also some kind of infiltration, paid for infiltration into these protests by external parties from the protest?
I would say that question should be answered by investigation, so that we stop the speculation. Because when a person now pays money, you can even do a money trail on who is paying who. You can put a trail on who is speaking to who for the planning of that demonstration. And that's why I've brought in the question of technology. Technology must aid investigation, and two wrongs don't make a right. And let me tell you, Ndu, it wouldn't matter who paid a criminal gang to infiltrate a protest. It will not, I'm saying it won't matter, because whether it's paid by Veronica or it's paid by Ndu or it's paid by an MP or an MCA, a wrong is a wrong. Prosecution must happen. Because there is the innocent Kenyan who has nothing to do with all what is happening. They get to see the videos, they get to see the destruction. Some even get to pay heavily. Like Magunando, did you see a supermarket burnt in Embu, that Meru direction? And then you've seen the county supermarket in Murang'a, which was invaded and everything cleared. And other supermarkets also have had their run-in with criminal gangs. For me, what I would say from a legal perspective, I'm a lawyer by profession. From a legal perspective, I would say a criminal is a criminal. And if we don't tame that criminality, we will be reading these articles of the Constitution like theory. It will become a theory, and then it will cease to be applicable to people. Why do I think burning down a police station is very dangerous? I think it is so dangerous because imagine the minute we become used to burning installations that are security installation, it means that if we have gone that far, we have the boldness to go to a police station. What do you think that criminal can do to an ordinary citizen? A person who fears not the police, and I guess not even God or man, what do you think that person can do to you in darkness? So that's why I think if there is anything people would feel that the police maybe have overstepped the boundary, let's use the structures to put them into accountability. But burning down a police station is out of order, and it should be out of question.
Can we say it's a reflection of what then the reading from the top leadership? Because there has to be, we must have a bigger person in the room situation.
Yes.
So to de-escalate all these things that are going on, because how the protest then morphed and you had infiltration of criminal gangs and goons hired by a politician or whoever it is. If we now take a step back and look at also the language and the tone, you look at state officials, right from the head of state, for example, the mixed signals, the messaging that will defy court orders, that will go against provisions that are in the Constitution. Then when you have that on this side, then what then are we expecting on this side? What should we then do? Because if the people are looking at the leaders and saying, they're also not following the Constitution, they're also not following the law, there is no order at the top, all the way through the politicians, through the ranks, and now to the Monanchi. What should we do?
I would say this: two wrongs once again don't make a right. And citizens have a right to hold their leadership into account on how they implement and apply this Constitution. Equally, we need to understand, if we don't accept to be guided by the Constitution, what then guides you? Is it your thinking, you as an individual? Do you read your script and I read my script and we continue disagreeing without having a compass that guides us into how we should behave? That's why I said this is the expected behavior, political behavior. It's governed by the Constitution. And when you're talking about constitutionalism and the rule of law, we must accept to be bound. If we have accepted that the judiciary is one of the arms of government, the three arms of government, then we must accept the only way I deal with a person who trespasses into my space is to take them to court, give them a right to be heard, and present their case before them, present my complaint and get it decided. So I don't think anybody would sit here and justify disobeying a court order, for instance. I don't think it would be correct. And from my training, it would not be correct. But I also must say something. People, we need a lot of civic education on who makes up government, if you ask yourself. Because we wake up every day, we say, we want government to do this, to do that, which is okay because we have elected leaders. But who makes up government? Government is made up of three arms, isn't it? Basic. You know, it's made up of executive, judiciary, and judiciary. And what I have seen, there is a way people distance themselves from that equation, so they no longer feel as though, some people feel as though they don't belong. But if you look at the legislature, it's where you have representation of the people. So, for instance, I was doing a civic education in Gatanga the day before yesterday, and I was asking them, who do they think makes up government? Because I cannot make up government by myself. The president cannot make up government by himself. He's a single individual. The cabinet cannot make up government by itself. Neither can an MP, neither can a governor. Government is made up of you, me, the leader, our shosho in the village, the go-go who is where they are, our uncles, the children in school. That by itself is what makes up government. So when we go and allow a section of the people to burn down that police station, they're not burning the police station for the OCS or for the Interior Cabinet Secretary. You're burning it for all of us. And we need to understand we must start to take responsibility, all of us. The leadership must take responsibility. The people must also take their responsibility. The minute you get a right in the Constitution, it rides with a duty. There is a duty that rides with it. So when you take up, for instance, say Article 37, and to be balanced, let me say, even when the police officer takes up the gun, whom we have given him the gun to defend and protect the people of Kenya, when this one is taking up their right to protest and this one is taking up their gun to defend, there must be responsibility on each of them. There is a duty and there is a responsibility. And a right rides together with that responsibility. So for the officer who holds the gun, the application of force must come within the purview of human rights, the Bill of Rights. Now, the demonstrator who goes peaceably and unarmed, that is the provision of the Constitution. So if everyone was guarding their corner, the officer guards their corner, and me as a demonstrator, if I'm in the demonstration, I guard my corner. Imagine our lines you run parallel. And we now need to increasingly have a conversation on what is our civic duty, what is our understanding. Let me quote something I was trying to quote yesterday in Senate, which I didn't have enough time to submit. We had a time limitation. On the patriotism I see on the Americans, because it's always good to look at best practice elsewhere. There is a patriotism that when an American says, I'm an American, they're actually telling you how you are now managing them and the rights you are using around the American now. You need to start minding what you're doing. And they are sending a statement that my nationality defends something and stands for something. And I'm thinking it's time for us to think as Kenyans, what is our loyalty pledge to the nation and to the state of Kenya? What nation do we want to see? If you look at Kenya and the journey we have walked with our neighbors, Kenya has been like the labor ward for statehood and nationhood around Somalia, around DRC, around Ethiopia, around Eritrea, around Sudan, around Southern Sudan. If you look at the stature Kenya has always held, it's a stature we must defend jealously. And I know we have questions, for instance, that the youths may be feeling, or they are feeling, they are not maybe feeling, they've expressed it, like job opportunities. I said the other day, because I'm an advocate of saying, let's be honest in our conversations and let's be bold to discuss the real issues. When I came out of university over 20 years ago, I didn't have a job instantly like tomorrow. My own experience. And you know this one, nobody can argue with me because it's my experience.
It is yours.
Yes. It is mine. This one, I own it. I was, then it's those days, I tarmacked for a job. I worked from one office looking for internship first. I tarmacked from one point to the other, just looking who could accommodate me so that I could do my pupillage to be admitted as an advocate. And even when I had finished, tarmacked for my pupillage, and then later I looked for a job, I still tarmacked for that job, so that there are very few countries in the world where you'll come out of college and find there is a job waiting for you immediately. There has to be some, like a sort of a period where you're feeling the ground, you're coming out, and you're looking for something just because of the global economics, how the economics have been. And it's not only in Kenya, it's been across the board. And I know that's a pregnant question where there is an expectation that we should have enough jobs for everybody. That would be the ideal position. And that's the position I would also love. But then if we now use Article 37 as an avenue where we have built a platform for criminality, even some of the jobs that the young people are holding are going to go down the drain.
Senator, we talk about Article 37, which gives the right to demonstrate. But then again, you also look at Article 39 that gives Kenyans Nigerians the right of freedom of movement.
Yes.
And you see, as we talk about the June 25th demonstrations and even the Sabasaba demos that happened, the police were given notifications with regard to the demos that would happen. And even the police commander in Nairobi, Mr. Seda, said, we shall be there. We are ready to give the demonstrators security that they have asked for them to be able to practice their constitutional right. But you wake up in the morning of Sabasaba and your right to movement has been curtailed. Why? Because police have blockaded all the roads in Nairobi and across the country. And at that point, the police are breaking the law and working against the constitution that there is. We go into the demonstrations that have happened, say, in the June 25th demonstrations, and we look at the notification and police offering security and asks the question, where were the police when the looters were there? Who has been arrested with regard to that? Because then one would say the police failed on their duty to provide security to the demonstrators who had given notification to them. And then you extrapolate that with statements being given by the political class, shoot to kill, shoot to maim, coming from the highest office in the land, which begs the question, at that point when you say police with the gun has to operate within the Bill of Rights, but then you have the leader of government who's giving orders which go against the very Bill of Rights. At that point, isn't the political class, police, failing on their duty of respecting the Constitution?
I'll answer two questions about barricading of Nairobi. And I want to look at the public interest, and I want to try and put myself in the shoes of those that the police or security actors who must maintain order, who must ensure that after the 7th of July, on the 8th of July, we still need a city that is intact. I need to walk back to Kenyatta Avenue, Moi Avenue, River Road, go down to Kamukunji, go down to Gekomba, and I want to find, if I had premises in one of those areas, I want to find everything intact. I want to find the boutiques next to City Hall. You know, there are some boutiques and some shops that were broken into before, and some shops near Ludhuri and somewhere down there, which I saw even some of the shops from very business people, SMEs, very small traders, small scale traders, whose even their shops were vandalized. I saw one lady very bitter and crying to God for their businesses having been looted. I saw one other business near OTC, which had been a legacy of a family. It was completely destroyed. And I tried to balance in my mind between protecting these businesses and livelihoods because of the one day and the option of opening up the streets for everybody to go everywhere and then dealing with the mayhem the following day. Which one outweighs the other? For me, if I was still in their position, I would say, if you can still protest maybe in a certain area without damning anybody or breaking or hitting any child within a residential area, I would say I would rather please use Gong Road, and I'll place a restriction. Don't touch any gate to a residential estate. Don't touch any property that is housing businesses along that Gong Road. I would say yes, if you want to use the tarmac, use the tarmac peacefully, unarmed. Do your right, but don't touch anything. Because when you touch anything, then you are crossing the red line. Don't touch. And criminality, if you find you're in a peaceful demonstration and you can see elements you don't understand, we also need to say to the demonstrator, be very alert when you walk out into a demonstration.
They did, Veronica, and I think we can stop and say that we have instances. And again, you talked about technology, and I think that's the beauty of technology.
Yes.
Because some of this stuff is imprinted in history forever. There were people who were screaming on the street, begging the police to save them from the hands of hooligans in the street. It didn't happen. There were young women who were begging
which
the
would
police.
Be unfortunate.
It happened.
It
was extremely unfortunate.
It would be unfortunate.
Where do you draw that line?
Yes, and that is where, because we seem to have meshed up everything now. when the demo is being done. That's why we need to now recall and say what happened and why did it happen. And I don't have an answer, a direct answer myself, because I do not know who has sent that criminal gang until we have an investigation within Nairobi to say, in Nairobi, this specific area, this gang seems like it came from A, because what happened in Nairobi may not be what happened in Murang'a. And that's why we don't give blanket answers.
Who's to insist for an investigation to take place?
There is no need for insistence.
But we're sitting here
automatically
later, a year
and
after
this is where media
20
must help us.
So if I may, Veronica, a year after June 25th, 2024, and we saw that over 50 lives were lost. Do you know that to date, one investigation has not taken place to completion?
Let me
so
say
this is my question.
Let me say
when
this.
we say
They
that
are
we should be able to pinpoint.
Yes.
How does that happen?
One of the things I would agree with you is that investigation should be completed. Even for purposes of records to say this is what happens on this day and this is how these lives were lost. So that IPOA must give an account. We must allow institutions to do their accountability on some of these issues without politicizing. Because, you can argue on politics, you can argue on constitution until you lose somebody. And then it becomes personal. When it becomes personal, that's when you see you almost don't want to know what is in books or in theory. You just want to know the truth. And I would agree with you that if we have the DCI, the investigations must be completed and speedily so that we can give a closure. But we must also agree, as citizens, our responsibility is this. If you look at the ratio between the number of citizens and the police, we have very low police coverage. And I want you for a moment to also assume, it's always good to look at both sides. And I look at both sides and I have told you from the onset, anything to me that looks like violence, I have a resistance to it like a 200%. Because it never ends well. And it's a loss for everybody. So my statement should not be taken to mean that I'm sitting, looking, or almost celebrating anything wrong that is going on. But I want to put myself in a situation where your guard down here has been given the job to repulse anybody who looks like they are coming to attack the announcers in the studio. I want to put myself in their shoes. If that guard finds a gang of 10, 15, 20 people who would overpower him automatically are approaching the building, how do you expect him to behave even before he gets an order from anybody? Because sometimes I tend to think, and it's my thinking, because I know the Constitution stipulates the IG, by the way, and let me also now separate the directive from the president and the office of the IG. Okay? The IG under the Constitution is independent. Are we together? In terms of the operation, I would not be surprised that something is happening in Mombasa, which the IG is dealing with, and many of them will happen, which the president even would have to be briefed later. Let's agree on that on a normal operations of this studio, something could happen here, which even your MD only gets briefed in the evening. Are we together? So the IG is independent, even from the CS of Interior. Under the Constitution, I checked it again today, he can only direct on policy. Okay? He cannot direct on operations. Meaning, for instance, the order for shooting to maim, for instance, the one you have asked me about. The person who will be held responsible constitutionally, even by IPOA, for anything they do, by the way, will be who? IG.
So why would the president?
If they understand. No, listen. I'm giving you the constitutional stipulation. When it comes to the operation, this is what you happen. How does that then help the IG in expediting the orders that are given? The IG is assumed to understand their role in the Constitution and assumed to know that, yes, you've been given a gun and you've been given the microphone to do your work here. The police have been given part of their tools of work is a gun. But how they use that gun is subject to a check by IPOA for excessive use of force. Do you get my point? So that if the IG and the officers understand their responsibility and their role, they know that you cannot then come and take a cover and say, the reason why I shot Dennis is because I had a directive from Veronica, or I had a directive from so-and-so.
So for clarity, essentially what you're saying, is that
that it shouldn't alarm.
On hearing such a directive, that they know their responsibility.
They should know their responsibility.
They should essentially go ahead and ignore that, because it could have come from a moment of what? Emotion?
It could come from a moment of also seeing that when the question comes out of, too many businesses destroyed, livelihoods being destroyed, lives being risked, you don't want to escalate it further. It could come from that moment of, you immobilize these people so they stop doing this or that.
Should we then sit here and say that statement?
I would say, I don't even want to judge the statement. What you could even do, by the way, our good thing, our president takes media and can take media interviews. He can even answer that question. But what I'm saying is, there is still a stopgap that really helps the IG in executing the orders that they are given. Meaning, if IG stood and did what is the correct thing to be done under the Constitution, only shooting when it is necessary to shoot and never shooting when it's not necessary. Because you could be in a situation where it is so risky that something has to be done to save a bigger group of people. Because there must be a reason why the gun was given. Is there a reason why the gun was given?
Senator,
to defend. Are we together? To defend. But I'm saying, if the IG is reading the laws and is looking that whatever I get to do, I will be answerable myself, and they have seen it.
And you see,
they'll be answerable.
And one would argue the same, that even when the president is making such statements, one should not assume it's just because the IG, ostensibly the police, know their role and they will act by the law. Case in point, after the statement that was given by Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen on shoot to kill, there was the demonstrations that happened on Sabasaba Day, and we had a police officer asking demonstrators, and I quote him, "Rudini kwa nyumba, niko na amri ya kukuua, leo utalala kwa fridge."
Nani alisema hivyo?
This is a police officer. It is in a video that is out here. The
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. If I saw it, the person who should be held accountable for that statement will actually be the officer who has issued that statement.
And what I'm saying is, statements that are being made by individuals who are higher in authority in government should not be dismissed and should not be allowed to happen simply because they are speaking at the moment, simply because they were pissed off.
I want to give an example of something, and I'd like you to maybe, Jen, help us draw some parallels, because you're a legal mind, you get it as well. We have people today who will languish as guests of the International Criminal Court, not because they were actively engaged in conflict, but because they gave an order. Felician Kabuga hid from the public eye and from security agencies for decades before he was found like a rat in an apartment in Paris. He wasn't engaged in the conflict in Rwanda. He gave orders. He facilitated. He spent money. There were people who got on the radio in Kigali and basically ordered the Interahamwe to do the things that they did. Those generals today are in jail. They'll be in jail for life. There are people who ordered for the rape and maiming and massacre of women and children by an order. Word of mouth. They were never in the killing fields. They were never on the floor of conflict. They gave an order. They are the ones who are held responsible. The thousands of soldiers who were on the battlefield did not make their way into the court.
And you know what that should teach us? That should teach us, all of us, none left out. Reducing pointing, accusing fingers, but looking first introspectively. What have I done to contribute to the situation that is on the table? And how do we resolve our issues? Do we resolve our issues by a fight? Do we resolve our issues by talking out the issues and finding solutions which are practical? How do we resolve? And do we accept to be guided by constitutionalism? And that is why I've gone back to constitutionalism, Ndu. I have said, if we don't go back to constitutionalism, the topic of the day today, if we don't accept to be guided by the constitutionalism, obviously there will be hiccups along the way, because every time you breach or you cross the line, you most likely will be held responsible for crossing the line. And that's why I've said, for the police officers who of course now feel like also I think they're also feeling like they're embattled because of the comments and the kind of attitude Kenyans are having towards the officers, which also we need to check once again whether that's the correct position. I think, in my view, as we continually talk about police reforms and put the police to a position where we want them reformed and looking into application of their functions within constitutionalism, we equally must accept that we want a place where there is law and order and there is constitutionalism. Why do we need the law and order? Because if you give us 2 police officers for 1,000 people, they are not enough to govern us. We must accept
there's an
to be governed.
Problem as well.
Yes, we must accept to be governed and to acknowledge that these are the officers who are defending and protecting us. And the officers, on the other hand, when they hold the gun, they must know that any excessive use of force will subject them to the same rules that the people are looking at when they go to demonstrate.
Veronica, here's where the challenge
So it's where
lies.
we must strike a balance and an understanding that for this to happen, this must also happen. I want to wake up in the morning and have my children go to school. You also want that to happen. It cannot happen if we make it so impossible, even for the few officers in the Republic of Kenya, to govern what we are doing.
Here is where the challenge lies. If we take a step back to look at why we had the protests in the first place, the first one that we had, it was about the tax burden in this country. Those people who are coming to the streets before this infiltration and the violence that now we've seen escalate, they were coming to the streets because they love their country. They want their future secured. And because many of these are young people, they feel their future is going to be messed by what currently is happening in the leadership. So when now you fast forward, now we are looking at issues of justice. You're looking at issues of impunity, corruption, the tax burden, mismanagement, governance issues. Bridget Njoki was watching television with her mother. She was not protesting on the streets. She was killed by a police bullet. When you look at the tone set by the leadership, is one that lacks empathy, lacks compassion, lacks to address this and many, many, many other examples of young people who the average age, when you look at it, is around 23, 24. When you have that kind of situation, and then you have the top leadership not going into the constitution, because these young people are saying, look, let's go back to the constitution. Whatever you're doing is wrong. Whatever you're doing is disrespectful. Whatever you're doing is against the law. It's against the constitution. They are pushing for that. But then what you get, the tone that now is set from the top is, we will disregard court orders. We will shoot to kill. They will, like Otundu was saying, head of state, an interior CS will say, I'm giving you direction, take that gun, shoot to kill. Then retract and say, this is not what I meant. You've got all these conflicting statements that are coming from the top leadership. Then at this bottom level, where do you then expect for people to then address their issues and say, we've had enough, these are our issues? Is it not then on the streets?
Let me say this. Let me begin with the story of Bridget Njoki. I'm a mother. The story of Bridget Njoki is really sad, and it should never happen. And that's why we should never allow ourselves, even our nation, to reach that position. And I want to say to Bridget Njoki's mom and family and friends and all the people who were in the funeral, and I saw how sad it was, that we deeply condole with you. Because Bridget should not have been caught up in this crossfire, because she was inside. And you can, of course, see the bullet that caught Bridget was, I don't even think it was intended to go anywhere into a home and take out a child. It's really sad, and I'm sorry, and we pray for you that God will give you comfort, because it's only God who can comfort you under such difficult circumstances. And that is why everybody must say, if for no other person, but But for the likes of Bridget, for the likes of Boniface, let's put all our differences on the table and try and resolve whatever it takes us. But not violence, not the gun, not the shooting. All of us must wake up in Kenya now and say, I want to be a peace ambassador. Things have happened which are so bad. And there are some that cannot be undone. Because even if you're given a compensation and you lost a child like Bridget, you know that compensation can only ease up a few things, but the feelings may not be covered by the compensation, the experience, how they feel.
You can never pay for a life.
You can't pay for that. And that is why we need to say, if this has happened, let's now say it's time to stop and reconsider how we are conducting our business. On both sides, and not on one side. All of us, because there are those who are governing, us who are in leadership positions, and there are those who are governed. It is time for all of us and institutions which are in the Republic of Kenya, including organizations, religious bodies. It's time to pause and say, let's have a genuine conversation that is looking for solutions, because Kenya has been in such situations in different times, showing different, coming up in different shapes. Even when during the constitutional making process, we have been through such roads before, but we didn't have to sink. So do we say things are so bad now that we continue sinking? Or do we say things are too bad, we stop, we must now continue rising and getting solutions? One of the problems I'm having with some of the people who are not even giving those orders that you are quoting here, some of the politicians, their words are worse than a matchbox that's lighting the businesses that are being lit on the streets. And let me express my dissatisfaction with the performance of NCIC. Just as a way of challenge, not as a way of killing the institution, as a way of saying NCIC would honestly need to really do more than they are doing right now. Because when I see commissioners are even so aligned to politicians and taking certain positions, do you think I would ever trust that commissioner if I'm to present a case before the commission? Do you think you feel I'll be judged properly when I know a commissioner is aligned to Dennis or aligned to Ndu? If I come in, I'm on the opposite side, I'm from a different station, do you think I'm going to entrust? I'm saying that so that the kind of speeches we are making in public right now as politicians, from whichever divide, profiling people, we must stop it. And I think it's important for us to begin a fresh journey where we first love one another as Kenyans and know that as a Kenyan, I'm not going anywhere, by the way. I'm not going to be a Tanzanian citizen. I'm not going to Uganda. That's not my intention. It's only circumstances that can push a Kenyan to change their nationality today. And if we are not going anywhere, we are here. How then do we conduct our business? How do we ventilate? And I want to say something. For the parliament, if you have not noticed any change, we have started taking the grievances in a very serious fashion. But we also need to stop. Social media is being used sometimes to fuel a lot of hatred, cyberbullying, finishing institutions. We need to start building. We decide positively, even the media. Let's start sending a positive vibe. And I saw something change with the media, and I commend you the last few days. The messaging that is being done across several stations is about peace. And I want to encourage you. Let's talk peace. Let's get ambassadors of peace. Let's say we have enough messages now on the ground, and it's time for us to change the trajectory and give ourselves a new direction.
Still a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work.
Necessary for us to have these conversations. We want to thank you so much, Senator, for being here this morning, opening that up and not burying our heads in the sand.
Yes.
Senator Veronica Maina has been our guest this hour. Thank you so much. At 8:01, good morning.
Good morning. This is the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga. The Higher Education Loans Board has confirmed what many feared. It doesn't have the money to issue new student loans this year. CEO Geoffrey Monari says despite needing 48 billion shillings in the last financial year, it received only 26 billion shillings, forcing over 100,000 students to go without full support last year.
And that's why you can see the students are not making as much noise because they got their upkeep money, but they didn't get the tuition money to the institution. Yes, that is where the challenge is. So the person suffering actually is the institution, the universities and the TVET colleges. Propose to enact legislation to grant HELB statutory access to third-party data from relevant institutions such as Kenya Revenue Authority. This will enhance targeting of financial aid and enhance tracing and enforcement mechanisms.
To turn the tide, HELB is also proposing some sweeping reforms. A 3% education levy drawn from VAT, similar to Ghana's model, to create sustainable long-term funding.
Student education levy on employers, or to ring-fence 3% out of the existing percentage VAT charged for direct allocation to HELB.
The government is investigating the mysterious deaths of 4 residents of the Migadini area in Nyamweya, Mombasa County. The 4 died from a disease that is yet to be identified. The disease leaves its victims' bodies swollen and riddled with pus-filled wounds. Residents are now calling on the government to determine the root cause of the deaths and to establish how residents can protect themselves.
Kifo kimetokea ya watu 4 tangu jana mpaka leo saa hii, na ugonjwa ya kutatanisa. Mtu amefura kama mtu amechomwa na maji. Huwezi kujua ni binadamu, hata ukiangalia unaogopa. Mwili ukisika nyama inatoka, na amefura kama mtu amechomeka.
Kuna ugonjwa umekurupuka hapa, watu wanakufa bila kuelewa wanakufa vipi. Mtu anafura ni kama mbele amegeuka ninio kama amechomwa na hajachomwa. Hata ukijaribu kutaka kumbeba, si wenyewe tuna wasiwasi. Tunavaa gloves kumbeba lakini tuna wasiwasi. Hata ile mask yenyewe unavaa lakini ule mwili unanuka kama ulikufa mwezi mlioisha.
The first incident occurred on Friday last week when a 91-year-old woman died at home. A week later, the 3 cases were reported, including a 55-year-old man and a 69-year-old man who were discovered in their early stages of decomposition. The 4th case involved a 57-year-old man who was also found dead in his house. Health officials from Mombasa County have visited the affected area and launched investigations, further advising residents to adhere to a high level of personal hygiene and immediately seek medical attention if they felt ill. The National Youth Service has raised the alarm over a fraudulent scheme targeting its graduates with fake job offers, allegedly from UNICEF Kenya. In an alert, NYS Employment Liaison Officer Samson Kiptum cautioned that some scammers have been contacting NYS officers and graduates while impersonating officials from UNICEF Kenya. The ELO, after conducting background check, confirmed that UNICEF Kenya has no such employment opportunities currently available. Kiptum urged graduates to exercise extreme caution and conduct proper verification before sharing any personal information. 8 key suspects linked to the July 3rd arson attack on Mawego Police Station, Rachonyo North Sub-County, have been denied bond until the matter is brought up for mention on Tuesday next week. The suspects were arrested on Monday following closure of the miscellaneous application and subsequently transferred to the ATPU headquarters in Nairobi for arraignment under the Prevention of Terrorism Act number 30 of 2012, along with additional offences under the Penal Code. The prosecution opposed the granting of bond, with the accused being remanded at the Committee Maximum Security Prison. And in the international scene, Nigeria's former President Muhammadu Buhari was buried on Tuesday in the backyard of his home in northern Katsina State as residents climbed trees to bid farewell to the 82-year-old. Buhari ruled Africa's most populous nation between 2015 and 2023 and died in a London hospital on Sunday after an undisclosed illness. He was one of 2 former Nigerian military strongmen who returned to power via the ballot box. Buhari's 8-year rule was marked by economic recession, foreign currency shortages, a slump in oil production, and insecurity that spread across the country. That's the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Traffic.
All right, where are we? Where are you this morning? Traffic is very busy in the city, and we're looking at it on Mombasa Road, doing quite something as you come through towards the Nyamweya Stadium roundabout. It's very, very busy, and we know that inbound traffic on Mombasa Road this morning is actually quite crazy. The construction going on is going to mean that a couple of days into this week, it's going to clog up, and probably into the next week as well. So brace up for that. And then also coming off of the Eastern Bypass, around the Embakasi Loop coming off Outer Ring, there is some traffic there. Jogoo Road is busy, going towards Landis. Haile Selassie, then right around Wakulima, very busy as well. The Thika Superhighway survey through towards Murang'a Road, busy there. Kiambu Road in both directions, busy as well. And also on Limuru Road, traffic is starting to pile up as you get closer and closer to Muthaiga Square. As you come off of Waiyaki Way, not too much of a problem, and it's not too sticky there. We're going to keep an eye on all of this and keep things moving. This morning we'll talk SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
We're on about to 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. And this morning, getting into another one that we will do in a few minutes. We'll let you know what that is. We gave you a little bit of insight into it. A little bit more information of that coming in a short while. While you tell us that if you're in your car, if you're in your house, if you're in your office, you don't have to be disconnected.
No, you don't.
Okay.
And there's a question that has come from one of our listeners, Kenyan Kenin, who says, I want you to repeat the good news from Safaricom. So there are two options here. So the first option is if you're thinking portability, you're traveling, you want ease of movement, and you want to have fast speeds, access to the internet, you can generally then get a router, which is 2,999 from Safaricom. I'll tell you where you can get it from. And the good thing about this is you can use it in your home, you can go to work with it in your car, you are in an event, the same way you use that boom speaker to listen to music, you can carry this around so that you're always staying connected with fast speeds. And the speeds I'm talking about is 50 Mbps. So you have no lag when you're watching your videos or playing video games, no buffering if you are streaming the show like this one this morning. And you could have the second option and you're thinking, wait, okay, so I have a Safaricom my home setup. And we know with the home setup, installation is free, maintenance is free. If you have a downtime, you get 5 GB of data, and within 24 hours, Safaricom is able to get you sorted out. But then you're asking, okay, I don't have the fiber in my residence. Then, if you don't have that, 5G steps in, and you can get this router anywhere. Any Safaricom shop. You can get it from asoko.com, Quick Mart supermarket. You can simply just go to your phone, dial *400# and just make that switch. It's that simple.
Easy peasy, kama.
Kama mchelea, easy.
Okay.
I was just trying to rhyme. I have no idea what I'm saying.
I better. We shall revisit. We shall.
You and your jollof rice. This thing of. I've heard someone say it's from Senegal.
That's what I told you guys on Monday, and I said that's
the origin.
We'll get into that in just a minute, because Dennis wants to tell us also about how we can create, grow wealth.
Yes, and you see, after growing and building this wealth, there's always a problem, like how am I going to take care of it? How am I protecting it? But here, Standard Chartered Bank actually has solutions for you. Now, it is telling you that what keeps a lot of people up at night whenever they've built their business is the idea that everything they've built could be lost either through poor advice or market downturns. Now, that's why wealth preservation and risk management are key pillars at Standard Chartered Priority Banking. Now, their expert team don't just guide you, they protect your assets from market fluctuations, economic shocks, and unexpected risks. Now, add that to their specialized investment advice and portfolio management, and you've got a piece for building sustainable long-term wealth. And for those overwhelmed by endless options, from real estate to international investments, you get expert help to optimize decision making. It's not just about growing wealth, it's about growing wisely and with clarity. Your path to smart, protected, and informed wealth starts with one email: wealth.ke@sc.com. This is your time.
It is your time, and now we get into a time where we talk about something that we've all heard before. Sometimes we're not quite sure. In fact, I used to think that, okay, what are we saying exactly? But that's why we have these conversations then, to be able to understand. We're talking about the status of OSH in Kenya, and joining us this morning in the hot seats, Jeria Mora is a human capital advocate, and Vivian Boaz is the vice chairperson of the WSPAK. She'll tell us what that is in just a minute, even as we get into this conversation. And then we're going to start to unpack all of this, OSH, and debunk that. Safety, of course, comes to mind, and health, of course, comes to mind. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But you've heard these two gentlemen talking about rice and things. Okay. Dennis is going to welcome you with today's proverb. He'll tell you where it's from, and then we'd like to hear your interpretation of the same. All right?
Yes, and we are in that country that produces jollof rice. We are in
Ghana.
Oh, stop it. Oh, sorry.
We are in
Nigeria.
So you love jollof rice from Ghana or Nigeria?
I think it's actually Senegal.
The original jollof is from the Wolof people in Senegal.
Senegal and Gambia.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yes, and in this country
Nigerians just added some spice to
exactly.
It's a little bit more than just adding spice, but okay.
You know, this debate will not end, right?
Ever.
But let's talk about the music in Nigeria. You know, so we have Afrobeat. One of the originators, Fela Kuti, and he used his music to pretty much talk about good governance, you know, putting the leadership into account. But then you extrapolate that to what that did to the modern Afrobeat, so the likes of Burna Boy, you know, Wizkid and whatnot, you know. Yeah. So they have borrowed heavily from Fela Kuti and continue to do an amazing job. You come to Kenya, go to our clubs today, it's all Nigerian music. But let's go to the proverb of the day. The frog does not run in the daytime for nothing. The frog does not run in the daytime for nothing. How would you interpret that?
The frog does not run in the day for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We wake up every day. We go out there. Either you're out there to make a living, you're out there to support someone. I think that's how I would interpret it. what it means to me. Every day you leave the house, you have a purpose. It manifests in different ways. Employment, like we're here today, this is work for us. So we left the house, we're here today for work. Then we're having someone who is going out there to support someone, either in the hospital or it depends. So either you're out there because of a purpose, and that's what's driving you. So that's how I would interpret it.
Okay. And you, Mora?
Thank you so much. My own interpretation about how or why the frog jumps out during the day. You want to look at what's the normal time for the frog to jump? Is it at night only? Why would it go out at night? Is it when it feels safe? Why would it risk going out during the day? Because now you realize that there's always something that's pushing it to go out during the day. There's always a reason behind it. And just like Vivian said, there's always purpose, there's always a passion, there's always something you're looking out for. So it could reflect on our daily lives. We take a lot of time to go out there, work, look for earning, keep our food on our tables. So that's my own interpretation to it.
Yeah, great to hear.
Thank you.
All right. We're getting into an OSH conversation this morning, and we hear it, don't we? We, in different organizations, you hear about OSH. I'd like to start us off when we starting to get some definitions, first of all, in terms of what OSH is and what it means. But first of all, tell us, Vivian, what is the WSPAK?
Oh, so we pronounce it as WASPAC. WASPAC stands for the Workplace Safety Professionals Association of Kenya. This is a professional body for OSH professionals in the country. Right now we have a membership of over 1,000, both male and female, from different industries.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Jaria, when we talk about OSH, what is OSH?
Thank you so much. OSH in full is Occupational Safety and Health. When we talk about occupational safety and health, we are looking at your health at work. Yeah, the spaces you occupy every single day while you're looking for earning. So that's the simplest meaning of OSH. Yes.
Okay, and who then activates OSH at the workplace? And how can we see that it then is present at workplaces?
Very well, thank you for that question. Who activates OSH? Occupational safety and health is a responsibility placed on employers. Is also a responsibility placed on employees in Kenya. We also have a legal framework around occupational safety and health. Like in Kenya, we have Occupational Safety and Health Act 2007, which is reinforced by the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services. Why this is important is because every day workers go to work, they face challenges, they face threats to their health in form of injuries, they face threats to their health in form of illnesses. So looking at the statistics in Kenya, people who are in employment, both informal and formal, form about 80% of the population, and these are people who depend on work to get earning, to take their kids to school, to advance or rather improve their livelihood. But there's this thing that we cannot be silent about: their safety while they are working, their health while they are working. So that's why we have responsibilities placed, for example, on the employer to ensure that even when you welcome workers to your workplace, you've made sure that the workplace is safe, as the environment is safe for them to work and thrive. So even as you try so much to maximize on the profit, you're also maximizing the sustainability of your business through empowering your workers, through enabling your workers to crack that work-life balance. When they go home, they are healthy, they are able to also be present as a mom, be present as a dad. Yeah.
So, Vivian, we talk about OSH in workplaces, and one would say this is a requirement. But then again, how is the uptake of the same across the country? How are we faring?
Maybe before I answer that, I wanted to build on what she said, because there's a foundation that's been laid for health and safety in the country. Now, when it starts with the Kenyan Constitution, because if you look at Article 41 and 43, it does touch on fair labor practices, and then it also says that we as Kenyans have a right to a safe and healthy working environment. So the Kenyan Constitution already lays the foundation. Then, as Lydiah said, we have the Vision 2030. The Vision 2030 also say, we are working towards making Kenya an upper middle income economy, right? Country at the moment. Now, to do that, health and safety is essential to achieving that. Okay? Now, the Vision 2030 itself is also laying strategies for how we can achieve this. One of the things they're looking at is fair income for all Kenyans. We're also looking at full and productive employment. So the Vision 2030 also lays strategies that we can actually implement as a country to ensure we attain upper middle income, become an upper middle income country. But the one that goes into detail is the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 2007. Now, that is the act that now lays the responsibilities of the employer, responsibilities of the employee, and what the consequences are for non-compliance. Now, back to your question, asking about where we are. If I was to say we are doing well, we are doing badly, I would be unfair to the OSH profession. It's a steady progress. There are so many challenges that need urgent attention. We are making progress as a country. And remember, OSH is a collective responsibility. Lydiah has mentioned DOSH. DOSH is the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services. This is the regulator. Okay? DOSH does not work in isolation, in as much as it's doing an amazing job in the country at the moment. One of the things that is done, because remember, like rural electrification, we were trying to reach the hardest to reach communities, making sure that there's electricity in every Kenyan's household, okay? But what's happening, the same thing is happening with DOSH. We are trying to entrench OSH in all communities in the country, in all workplaces. And how has DOSH done that? DOSH has done that by ensuring that we have health and safety officers in all the 47 counties. Now, if we have 47 health and safety officers, that means people now have access to OSH knowledge. The other thing that they've done is to ensure that they've professionalized inspections, because that is what DOSH does in the country, inspection of workplaces. If you come here to Standard Group, I'm so sure you walk in at the reception, there's a green certificate. Have you guys seen it?
Okay.
There's a green certificate, so that shows that you as a workplace you've complied with all the requirements. So it's supposed to be in public display. So when I walk in, that's the first thing I'm supposed to see.
Okay.
So that's the first level of compliance. So I am
the
so
certificate.
Sure, yes.
Okay.
So I'm so sure SG is 100% compliant.
Just because you've seen the certificate?
Because I saw it and it's up to date.
Okay.
Yes.
So what you're saying then is that if there's a certificate that has been displayed, then one would imagine that there's certain things that you have done in order for you to display the certificate.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
And what are those things?
For example, I would just jump in to assist with that. You have done audits. DOSH approves experts who are able to do professional audits for workplaces. They're coming in to see the status of occupational safety and health. They're coming to see fire safety, how prepared you are in case a fire occurs. Do you have fire extinguishers? Do you have trained teams? Yeah. Have you done first aid training for your teams? Yeah. Are your machines sound? Some workers tend to use machines that have, missing handle or loose handle, and that exposes them to injuries every day. So for you to really comply, then it means your machines are sound. They do not expose workers to risks of injury, risks of being crushed. Yeah, then your workplace is well ventilated, it's well lit. I mean, you can look at this studio. Yes, well ventilated, well lit. We're not struggling we have ergonomically suitable seats. We are not struggling to reach the microphone. So there are simple things that require you to be aware about and to continuously build on occupational safety and health. So for a workplace to attain that certificate, then it means there's something they have really done to make sure that the health and safety of workers who come to work every single day is well taken care of.
I think my question is towards the worst violators, because I once handled a case of a gentleman, a very young gentleman, 26 years old, and I didn't know all this back then. And what had happened, he was working in this steel factory, and how it is in Kenya because of the desperation to look for a job. So this is where you queue up at 6 in the morning. The first 15, 20 people are the ones who will now get in, do the job for the day. Tomorrow, the first 15 again. So you might end up not having the same people. And so here was a situation where this person has not been, is the quick induction. So this is the machine, this is what you do here. You press this button, when this happens, you do this. And in 10, 15 minutes, you're done. And people start working because they're earning, 500 shillings a day at that time. So what ended up happening is he didn't have proper clothing. And he ended up, his nini was stuck in one of the machines. And when it was stuck, it fell. And so they didn't understand how to do first aid, number one. How do you rush this person to hospital? By the time the young man is getting to hospital, the doctors are asking, where was this thing left? So somebody had to quickly go back, look for where it dropped, put it on ice, go back to the hospital. And at the time, we were trying to follow up the case because even the young man didn't know about what he was expecting to receive, no demands, nothing. And what that story then, just zooming out of that story, is the worst violators, especially in the informal sector, because they form 80%. How are they regulated? Who follows up to ensure that they're up to standards, they are following the regulation, and who does the sensitization to those who are then queuing up that these are your rights, these are the questions you need to ask, and so on and so forth. Any of you can pick it up.
I mean, I think labor is very cheap in Kenya, like you said. You get hurt, you die. The next day you're easily replaced. That's the country we're living in right now. The responsibility, whether informal or formal, lies with DOSH. DOSH is responsible for implementing the highest levels of health and safety standards in the country in all workplaces. Okay? But then we also have the WIBA Act. Now the WIBA Act comes into play when someone is injured or you're ill because of a condition in the workplace, okay? Now, WIBA is there to compensate, whether you're in the informal sector or you're in the formal sector. As I said, DOSH has also employed 47 health and safety officers. These are the individuals who are supposed to go to all these workplaces and ensure that they are attaining the highest level of compliance.
But 47 is like a drop.
Almost like one, yes.
Only 47?
Yes, and that is now. Remember, there was a time where we didn't have that number. So we have come a long way. That's why I started by saying it's steady progress, okay? And it's true. But we are making progress. Now we have the 47. That means we've improved as a country in terms of entrenching OSH in the country, and it's working. We still have a long way to go because one of the challenges, I think we'll talk about this later, one of the challenges that DOSH is facing or has been facing for a very long time is understaffing. They don't have enough people to reach each individual in the workplace or all workplaces in the country. Because look at the population of Kenya. How many workplaces do we have at the moment? If Kenya decided we were going to have a health and safety professional for every workplace we have in the country, that means that the DOSH department has to be supported financially.
Mm-hmm.
That is still not happening. We're not there yet. Yes.
Okay. when I think about health and safety at the office or at the workplace, I'm not just saying office because it could be anywhere. It's not just an office. It's a factory. From what you're saying, it's factory. It's anywhere where, as you had mentioned before, this work or this business takes place. The first thing that comes to mind, okay, is there a fire extinguisher there? Are there those signs like when people are mopping up whatever so that it doesn't slip and fall? Are those kind of things put up? But then also when we talk about compliance to these, is it just those brick and mortar things that we're talking about, or is there some subjective stuff as well when it comes to health and safety in the work environment?
Thank you for that. Now, maybe I'll start from what Dennis Okari gave us. He has given us a story that does not only affect the guy that he talked about, it is affecting people who are in small or micro and medium enterprises in Kenya. They lack information, they lack awareness, they lack preparedness, and we're looking at how simple safety is. It just starts from awareness. Do you know what is required? Far from just complying. When we talk about compliance, it almost looks like it's burden. There's a lot of cost attached to it, but starts from basic knowledge. Do you know how to safely operate that machine? Do you know how to safely handle the chemicals that you use every day? Yeah, in Kenya, it is a requirement. It's rather a right for every worker. They have a right to safety and health. Under the International Labour Organization, it was declared that it's a right for workers to occupational safety and health. It's a fundamental right. It's the 5th fundamental right. So everyone, whether you have one employee or whether you have 1,000 employees, they have a right to safety and health. It goes beyond just complying. It goes beyond just providing PPE, for example. Have you empowered them to know exactly what to do, even with those hazards? Have you talked to them? Have you put mechanisms in place so that before that accident happens, they really know how to prevent it? Because we are also looking at the sustainable business. I would like to talk to employers. Maybe some of you seated here today are employers. What have you done at personal level to provide basic knowledge? Have you really explained to that employee of yours what their roles are? Have you talked to them about safety and health, about training, about fire, what they can do in case they spotted a fire? It starts from your own home. What have you done to empower your nanny, your house help? Yeah, what have you done to talk to them about basic bans, what they need to do? Because it starts from there. Yeah, so far from just compliance, we are looking at achieving more than compliance, more than having that paper, more than showing us that you have done all the audits you have done, all the inspection. What about the mental health of these workers? Yeah, they are going to work from home. They are going to complete the work at home. So then it means they are not able to crack that work-life balance.
So there is the aspect of compliance that you've just addressed, but then there is the aspect of there is all these that businesses know they ought to do, but for one reason or the other, one chooses not to, simply because they can beat the system. They know someone in these high offices, but just in terms of if you don't do this, then what? So that then what question is what I'm asking. For those that do not meet the requirements, right? What are we looking at? What does that mean to the overall safety of workers in the country? And what does then the penalties mean, or what kind of penalties are we looking at?
Okay, so the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 2007 really outlines what the consequences are for non-compliance, okay? So if you are, as an employer, say your responsibility is to do a risk assessment. So you guys come here at 4 a.m. in the morning. So SG factors in you traveling on the road very early in the morning. There are certain risks that you're exposed to, okay, when you're getting here. So that is a risk assessment that they're supposed to have done. That is a legal requirement. And you as an employee, you should have been involved in that risk assessment. You should know the contents of that risk assessment.
What does it look like?
So basically you are identifying a hazard. So a hazard is anything that has the potential to cause harm to you.
Give us an example of what that would be.
So let's look at you traveling here. I don't know if it's you use company cars or you use personal cars.
Both.
Mm-hmm. So let's look at the road. What is likely to cause harm to you on your way here?
When they're doing this construction here on the road that they didn't tell anybody about, but then they...
Now that's a hazard.
Okay.
That has the potential to cause harm. What else?
Poor street lighting.
Perfect. That's a hazard. It has the potential to cause harm. Now from that, then now you rate that, you identify the risk and then you rate it. Okay? Then now as a collective, you come up with mitigation measures. What can we do to ensure that Dennis gets here safe and sound? Has SG done that? Are you aware that it has? That is a responsibility of the employer. Now, if the employer fails to do that, there are consequences in that act. It's very clear. Jail time or money.
For who?
For the employer. Now, this is the catch. They look for negligence. Is it on the part of the employee or is it on the part of the employer? Remember, there's an investigation that is done before all this comes into effect.
So an employee can take the employer to court.
Yes.
And say, my employer didn't notify me or tell me or inform me of these hazards on my way to work. And therefore, I'm suing them?
Yes. And the other thing is say Dennis Okari gets, I'm not saying this is going to happen, Dennis. If Dennis does get involved in an accident and say it's fatal, or it's a life-changing injury where you end up in a wheelchair, okay? Now, if SG chooses not to report this to DOSH, okay, you as Dennis can do that. Remember now they've gone digital. Everything has been transferred to the DOSH system or platform. Now you can just go there and access the platform and report your injury. And
that
then
I was injured on my way to work.
Yes. And then DOSH now will pick it up from there.
Okay.
And pursue it until you're compensated
for it.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like us to take a break at this point and we'll come back and look at this into a little bit more into this in terms of compliance, in terms of safety, and really how far is the penetration of compliance around the country for people to essentially be safe in the places where they work. So let's do that when we come back from this break. It's now 22 minutes to 9 o'clock, and I have to remind you that watu wa Thika Road usiende mbali kutafuta dialysis. The Okoh University Hospital has brought dialysis near you at the Roy Sambu Specialty Center. The medical center is SHA certified, and you can use your SHA coverage to pay for your dialysis. Other services available at the Okoh University Hospital Roy Sambu Clinic include chemotherapy, endoscopy, and daycare surgery. Specialists available at this clinic include a pediatrician, gynecologist, family physicians, gastroenterologist, general surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, ENT, dentist, dermatologist, amongst others. The Okoh University Hospital, world-class care here and now. For more information, call 0730 011 888. That's 0730 011 888.
This is the Situation Room.
When you are unwell, you need a healthcare partner who will prioritize your welfare. Okoh University Hospital has brought specialized care near to you through their 54 medical centers across East Africa. And now the hospital has brought world-class care to Raptor Road, Westlands at the Promenade Building. Some of the specialist services offered in this clinic include family physician, pediatricians, baby, gynecologist, ENT specialist, counseling psychologist, nutrition and weight loss, among others. The Okoh University Hospital has also made medical checkups more available through our subsidized wellness packages. These packages are available at a clinic in your neighborhood. Do not wait until it is complicated. When diseases are detected early, there are more treatment options, better outcomes, and quicker recovery. From as low as 10,450, you can get a comprehensive medical checkup in this clinic and at any of our medical centers. Visit any Okoh University Hospital Medical Center in your hood today or call 0730 011 888. Okoh University Hospital. World-class care here and now.
A little sharing goes a long way with Safaricom.
Dad, thanks for helping me find those shoes on IG this morning. Your internet shopping skills are on point.
Of course. Maybe Newlem say. And thanks for sending me that TikTok dance. Atim Nasemaga, it slapped me.
Aki, Dad, no one says that.
Mom, thanks for the call before the quiz. Who knew you'd be so good at remembering those dates?
Well, I do try. And thanks for sharing those hilarious memes on the family WhatsApp group. I needed the laugh. My day was going sideways.
And when they come home, the connection gets even better.
Guys, the show is starting. Are you guys ready?
Just a minute. Let me finish this online course.
Almost done with my game, Dad.
Just after I beat you.
It feels good to share with Safaricom Family Share from Safaricom Home. You can now enjoy a home fiber connection with a voice, data, and SMS plan that can be shared with up to 5 members of your family. Experience the convenience of paying for your home internet and mobile plan on one bill. And what's more, you get up to 20% off on your mobile connection with more value for you and your family. Dial *400# or go to my Safaricom app to add Family Share to your Safaricom Home Fiber.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Partly sunny conditions in Nairobi, 15 degrees. It's 15 and sunny in Nakuru and 15 and sunny in Nyeri. Eldoret will see the sun today as well at 15. And it is sunny at 25 in Mombasa. And at 26, Malindi is sunny. It's 19 and sunny into Kisumu, while 18 and sunny in Kakamega. Sunny conditions at 19 in Kampala, while the sun is up at 22 in Dar es Salaam. It's 11 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, while at 27, Mogadishu will be sunny through Wednesday. And mostly sunny at 15 in Addis Ababa. It's cloudy in Lagos at 25, while at 22, Kinshasa is cloudy.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
The traffic continues on Mombasa Road this morning, going out into the city, and you come in through the Nyamweya Stadium roundabout, and even just before that, as you cross over from Capital Centre, inbound traffic is quite something. And also looking at it on Jogo Road as you get towards Landis. Landis then is a bit sticky as you get towards the Kamkunji roundabout, but you'll be doing fine thereafter. On the Thika Superhighway, traffic is now contained to just after Survey, and as you get towards the Pangani underpass, likely to find its way through towards Muranga Road, and coming out of Westlands. Waiyaki Way is busy but moving, and get to Chiromo, it'll hold up just a bit on that junction as it intersects with Wangari Maathai Way. So apart from that, I think we're doing okay. Well, Raila Odinga Way has some traffic, and the Eastern Bypass is dealing with the dregs of Wednesday morning traffic. We'll keep an eye on all of this and see what happens as we get through it, and we'll talk and keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice
FM. 9 o'clock. Jeria Mora is a human capital advocate, and Vivian Boas is a vice chairperson of WISPAC. And we're looking at OSH and activating this around the country. Are we satisfied? I mean, we've talked about, what was it, 47%? So now this 47% of the folks who have the green certificate, and the assuming that we see the green certificate, so that means these processes have been done. How many people have the green certificate but have not actually done the thing?
Let me respond to that. Okay. It's not possible for people to just have the certificate having done nothing. Yeah, because it's not a kind of paper that you go to an office and you're given. Okay. Yeah, you must show proof that you've actually created a safe working environment for workers. You have safe machines. If it's chemicals that you are storing, you have identified which kind of chemicals you're storing. If they are hazardous chemicals, do you have measures in place for safe handling, for safe storage? Have you communicated this to employees? Have they been trained on safe handling of chemicals? So there's a lot that goes into play before you have the certificate. So in Kenya as it is now, it's impossible to have the certificate having done nothing really. Thank you.
In fact, maybe if I could add to that, there's a section. Remember, in every workplace, you have to undergo medical assessments. You have to provide proof that this is the DHP, we call them DHPs, who performed or who conducted the medical assessments. So what if they were doing a background check or just the due diligence on their part, then they would just have to call that DHP and just find out, was this actually done? So again, it's a risk for anyone who appends a signature to the document saying, I did the medical assessments, this was actually done, and in reality it wasn't. Because again, as we said before, there are consequences. Okay, so as Jiraiya said, at the moment it's impossible to fake that document or to buy your way. Yes.
Okay, so as is often the practice, that I will comply and do everything that I need to do to make sure that I do have that certificate. So you can walk into the office, as you've seen, and then you can see it and you can say, okay, these guys have gotten all their ducks in a row, they're doing the thing right. But as we know, beyond that, it is maintaining of those standards and engaging in those activities that keeps your status, which is the conversation that we're having today, the status of it. So do we have folks who continue in compliance, not for the certificate, but in the activities that they should be engaged in going forward? So that if you're in a factory and somebody doesn't know how to use a machine and you're hiring somebody, that OSH certificate, kind of like the monkey on your shoulder saying, look guys, have you actually made sure that this is happening? Do we have the signage up when we're cleaning the floor? Do we have extinguishers where they need to be? Do the folks who are pushing these OSH activities actually know what they're doing? So how can we see now not just compliance, but the continuance of compliance? How does that look like?
Can I respond? Yeah. Very well.
You don't have to whisper.
Very well. Thinking to that question, is there anyone who ensures there's continuous compliance? Now, apart from me being a human advocate, I'm also Secretary General for the Workplace Safety Professionals Association of Kenya. This association is made up of professionals in the occupational safety and health field. Some of the professionals we have are occupational safety auditors, we have noise monitors, we have air quality professionals who do air quality measurements for workplaces that have air risks. We have fire safety auditors, or all of them are approved by DOSH. Now, under the requirements of compliance, to ensure that compliance is not done once, it's a requirement that every workplace conducts these audits every year. It's annual. So there's annual requirement for every workplace to ensure that audits are done. Far from audits, there are those inspections that are required. Yeah. So the trained team on the ground, they're able to do basic inspections to the machines. They're able to identify hazards, and they're able to report that. So when the auditors are coming, they're looking at the records. Yeah, if you say you have an occupational safety committee in place, what have they been doing? Do we have minutes that prove that they actually meet? When they did the last inspection, do we have records? What did they find out? Is there a system for these people to actually report hazards? Because it's not just a workplace having the certificate that we have trained, but how empowered are these people on the ground? Are they able to spot? Have they spotted any? After spotting a hazard or after an incident happened, did they do investigation? Was the investigation recorded? Yeah, so there's a lot. And another thing that enables continuous compliance is where you're selling the product. Yeah, the market often commands how you are carrying out your activity. And now today we're talking about employers. How do they ensure that they stay in business? Occupational safety forms core, among other things, reasons as to why you should invest, on safety and health. So when you invest, it's not a one kind of thing. And as we said earlier, it's not a one-person kind of thing. It's not about the employer. It's a collective effort. And it's something that is done every single day, every single moment.
So
Yes.
You said OSH is critical in how businesses maintain sustainability of the same,
Yes.
because then again there is all the clearances that one has to go through.
Yes.
And you read that together with the national goals that the country has in making sure that workspaces are safe.
Yes.
And here then comes a conference that is going to be taking place, AfriSafe conference. And just what are we talking about with regard to these conferences and the awards that will be coming into place? Are we looking at the best players in the industry? We're looking looking at how best to improve on this situation. You
Yes.
talk about AfriSafe. Is it about the continent, perhaps?
Thank you for that. Now, as I said, I'm Secretary General for Workplace Safety Professionals Association of Kenya. These are registered non-profit association that brings together occupational safety and health enthusiasts in Kenya and globally. Now, Westpac, in short, runs conferences every single year. Last year we had a successful conference. This year we've organized another conference that is going to happen in Pride Inn on the 13th and 14th of November. All of you are invited. People listening to me who are
Pride in Nairobi?
Pride in Mombasa.
Mombasa, okay.
Yes. People are listening and they are interested in safety. They are interested in learning more. Students are all welcome. Now, why do we bring conferences? Now, looking at the kind of theme that we have this year is United Africa for Safety. So we are looking at the common safety hazards that we encounter. It's not a Kenya problem. It's not a Uganda problem. But these are common things that challenge safety. They challenge businesses in Kenya. So when we have conferences, it forms a platform where professionals, experts, governments, employers come together to share knowledge. They come together to network. They also come together for updates on the current trends in safety and health. Yes.
I'm curious, why Mombasa? Sorry. Why Mombasa? Why not Nairobi?
I mean, have you guys been to Mombasa?
Yeah, many times.
Beautiful coastal city.
We go to Mombasa for vacation.
What's stuck?
Relax.
The last time you were in Mombasa?
The ocean is beautiful.
In the ocean. Yeah. What is the leading attraction? What brings people from around the world to Kenya? What do they come to see?
Culture. Animals.
So
enjoy our sandy beaches.
It's a white sands.
Yes.
It's the ocean. Okay, it's the weather, it's the humidity, even though some of us complain, but that is what attracts people. Now, remember the people we are attracting, some of them are from landlocked countries. Very sad, I know, but they are from landlocked countries, so this is an opportunity for them to experience what we, only Kenyans, can offer them. The sandy beaches. Okay. But then also, remember when we're talking about OSH professionals work in very traumatizing environments. Sometimes you're witnessing a fatality. Sometimes you're witnessing someone's life changing just in front of your eyes. Okay. Now, we are taking them away from these environments, allowing them to switch off, even if it's just for those 2 days, to enjoy time away from their traumatizing work environments, an opportunity to reconnect with themselves, an opportunity to also reconnect with other OSH professionals. This is what we are bringing to the continent. But the other thing I also wanted to add to that is it's also good for business. Because I want you to imagine the number of people who are going to come to Mombasa November 13th and 14th. It's a big number. Last year it was around 35,000. That is because we are collaborating with AfriSafe. This is the whole of Africa. All OSH professionals on the continent are convening in Mombasa. That's huge for us, for Mombasa's, the economy of Mombasa. Okay? So that's what you're doing for Mombasa. The other thing I wanted to say, maybe to add to Jeraya's point, is there's so much money. Investors have money and they want to invest in investable projects in Africa. And I want to tie this to our theme, which is United for a Safer Africa. Okay? There's money. They're looking for investable projects to fund.
So what opportunities are there?
Exactly. Now, the catch here is our employers prioritizing the safety, the health, and well-being of employees. Because right now, we're not just looking at just any other business. We're also looking at businesses that are prioritizing Denise's health and safety. If you're that employer, if you're that business, then that money is targeting you. That money comes to you. So that is the message you're trying to convey. OSH is good for business. Good OSH means good business. Bad OSH means the
so
exact opposite.
How relevant is this year's theme to Kenya's OSH ecosystem?
Thank you for that. Now, this year we are collaborating with AfriSafe. AfriSafe is one of the biggest awards system in Africa. They're based in Nigeria. Now, what this partnership brings to Kenya is to really, when you get that award, what have you done? Yeah, have you impacted people? Yeah, looking at the situation in Kenya, there are far too many reported accidents that were never compensated, that were never reported. Yeah, this kind of partnership is not coming to just be on paper. It's coming to reward those who have really gone out of the way to promote safety and health for people in Kenya, for workplaces in Kenya. Now, let's look at this perspective. How expensive then is it if people are not complying? We are looking at the legal bit of it. It's expensive because if you're not enshrining safety and health in your business, somebody could get hurt. Now, the process of, ensuring that is reported, that is compensated, is very lengthy. We are also looking at what that impact brings to the business. Sometimes you are really fighting hard to maintain the good reputation that you have for your business because you want to remain in business. So if somebody gets hurt today in your company, then it means there's something that you're not doing. You are exposing workers to accidents. We are also looking at the colleagues, the downtime. Yeah, those things are very expensive. If you lose good talent today, it may take you several years to again retrain another person to achieve the same talent that you lost through an illness or through an injury. So such knowledge is being shared when we have our conferences. So it's big for businesses, it's big for employers, it's big for employees, and even students as well. Yes.
I think I think maybe one of the things we said when we were making the introductions was that we have one of the most detailed legal frameworks around OSH. Okay, now some African countries don't have this. So I'm here to brag and say maybe this is an opportunity for Kenya to share, how far we've come, what we've done, what is working for us and what is not working, so that they don't have to start from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would an employee, whether it's somebody in a work environment, feel safe even with OSH policies in place? There's the policy on here, but how do I actually feel that this has been imbibed and I'm actually in an environment that is adhering to the guidelines and standards and that I'm actually safe in the environment in which I'm working? How would I know that I'm there?
Wow. I like the way you asked, how will an employee feel? Because safety is also about experiences. How do they actually feel? So then it tells you it's more than just having a policy displayed on a notice board. Yeah, how do they feel with the responsibilities you placed in them? Are you putting a lot of demand, a lot of target to be achieved? Maybe it's work that could have been completed in 3 days. Today you are telling them to complete that work in 1 day. Yeah, then it puts them in pressure to sometime overlook safety features, to sometime overrun the safety, whatever the safety policy says. Because if safety policy says that before you access these chemical store, which is having chemicals that are hazardous, you need to be in full PPE, for example. But now you've put a target that is unrealistic to them, then what does that make them feel? That you only have a policy and you really don't care about how they're going to achieve the target that you've put on them. So for the employees to actually feel safe, it goes beyond just having the policy. It involves them. Let them participate during policy revision, or let them participate during policy formation. Because sometimes you just develop rules and give people, it feels like you've imposed something, some requirement for them to just do for you. But safety is not for the supervisor. Safety is not for the employer. Safety is for everyone, to ensure that they come to work in the morning safe and they go back safe, physically, mentally, socially wholesome.
Fantastic. Really quickly, in 10 seconds, as we come to the top of the hour, we just want to say thank you to both of you for joining us this morning to talk about this important stuff for us to know and to be able to understand. Lydiah Mora is a human capital advocate, and Vivian Boa is the vice chairperson of WISPAC, talking about the status of OSH in the country. Asante Sana at 9 a.m.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Lal Ubaga. More than 350 kilograms of marijuana worth 9 million shillings have been seized in Watoya village, Bungoma County. The shipment was recovered during a night operation on the Bungoma Mumias Road, where the suspects fled to hideouts. Bumula Deputy Commissioner Lydiah Abdallah said the raid was successful with the help of the public, urging continued cooperation to combat drug trafficking. In addition, OCPD Agri Makomere said the marijuana is suspected to have come from Uganda, although it's not clear where it was being taken. Investigations are ongoing as officers search for the suspects who escaped.
Na vile vile tunaweka mikakati ya patrols within every area to ensure that those involved are apprehended and the law takes its course. Well, visa vya bangi katika hii eneo ya Bumula haiko juu sana, kwa sababu ukiona vile imepakiwa inakaa kama inapelekwa mahali pengine na imetolewa mahali pengine ambayo ni nafikiri ni nchi ya our neighboring country. So lakini tunaweka mikakati kwa mipaka na kila mahali tuhakikisha kwamba we do not allow bangi in our country.
3 Kenya Defence Forces soldiers have been killed following a deadly improvised explosive device attack in Sankuru, Lamu County. A statement from KDF said the device went off along the Sankuru-Kiunga main supply route while the troops were on patrol. The injured soldiers were evacuated to specialized military medical facilities in the region and are responding to treatment. KDF also said a multi-agency team has since been launched to pursue the perpetrators of the crime and have heightened the mining routes in and out of the area. Youth, especially Gen Z, have been urged to register in large numbers to fulfill their ambitions of changing the leadership in the 2027 general elections. Makueni County Women Representative Rose Museo advises youth to start by collecting their ID cards to qualify for voter registration. She also reiterated the need for an end to the frequent protests, saying those most affected are people living with disabilities, children, as well as mothers.
Na nisema kwamba hata kama hatumtaki Rais Ruto, dawa ya yeye kumtoa ni kumtoa na kura. Kila mmoja atapiga kura yake aseme kwamba sipigi huyu napigia huyu. Tunaelewana? Tukaweze kuelewana ili mambo yasiwe mabaya, ili nchi yetu ya Kenya tukaweze kuilinda, kwa maana tumeijenga miaka mingi.
Farmers in the northern Rift Valley region have been sensitized on effective methods to promote good agriculture. Speaking in Eldoret, where the event was organized under the Sapphire Connect program, Safaricom's North Rift region business leader Brenda Chesingay noted that the function is important for farmers to access the resources and knowledge they need to thrive.
Today we are in Ruper's Mall. We are working on Sapphire Connect. So Sapphire Connect is one of our interaction with our customers. And when we came to Rift, or when we came to Eldoret, we considered that our customers, most of them are farmers. So the niche of the customers who are here today, you'll notice, are farmers. And it's because most of our customers here are farming. As I said, it's a farming region. So why are we here? We are here to educate them on matters smart farming. We are here to educate them on financial wellness, which is really, really key for our customers. And of course, to take them through banking issue, what they can do and the advantages they can take from financial literacy in terms of banking.
Chesegay urged farmers to use technology and networks that connect with digital tools, markets, as well as expertise that will help them build a sustainable future.
The other thing is we also want them to explore and take advantage of the technology in terms of farming. When you look at farming, things are evolving. The world is going e-farming, e-learning, e-commerce. So even for farmers, we also want them to walk the journey where the world is going. So we are here as well to educate them on how they can do their smart farming, how they can learn from the world, how they can take advantage of YouTube, Instagram, TikTok for them to learn what the world is doing and how they can improve their farming. Over and above that, educate them on our products and services, their data privacy. There's also the issue of tax element.
And finally, detectives are investigating separate murder incidents involving 2 Ugandan women in Busia and Kakamega counties. Police stated that the incidents are unrelated and are pursuing strong leads on their assailants. The first incident happened in the Amagoro area, where the body of a woman was found by the roadside with an injury on the left side of the head, suspected to have been caused by a blunt object. In the Mahiakalo area, Kakamega County, another Ugandan woman was found dead on her mattress long after she had been strangled. The assailant escaped the scene after the murder on Sunday night, locking the door from the outside. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Traffic.
Okay, taking a look. What's happening with traffic on the roads right now? We're getting towards the end of traffic hour and still just a little bit of busyness as you approach the end of Mombasa Road and get onto Uhuru Highway. So we're also seeing some traffic on North Airport Road touching on Outer Ring at that loop. Jogo Road heading then towards Landis and then on to Haile Selassie is busy. And we're looking at the intersection of Ngong Road with Raila Drinkaway and then onto Valley Road. That's busy there. A little bit of traffic left just at the Pangani underpass on the Thika Superhighway. But we'll get through it and we shouldn't be doing too badly as we finish the day. Yes, we'll talk. Spice FMK Eon X hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's 9, rather. Yes, it is 9. It's 6 minutes after 9 o'clock into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation on this 16th of July. And this Wednesday, it's 2 days after things were done and things were mixed about. And we were told, do you need another 7 shillings to buy a litre of diesel? You need another 8 shillings to buy a litre of kerosene, another 9 shillings to buy a litre of petrol. Like that. And they said, mix them, gather them, bring them. But before we do that, get into how we're going to be having that conversation or talk about how you buy fuel, Dennis, you want to take us to where you don't have to go far to connect?
Oh, yes. I mean, if your internet is blocking you or holding you back from enjoying watching videos on YouTube, TikTok, surfing the internet, Facebook, or you have buffering issues when you're streaming, or you're experiencing lag when you're playing video games, you're just relaxed in your office or you're at home, worry no more, because Safaricom has a very, very, very good deal for you. And the deal is switching to 5G, which gives you very fast internet speeds up to 50 Mbps. And how can you get access to this? Well, all you need to do is buy a router, which is 2,999 Kenya shillings. Where do you get this? Visit any Safaricom shop or masoko.com, or go to Quickmart Supermarket. You can do your purchase from there, or you can simply just dial *400# on your phone and then make that switch. Safaricom feels good to be home.
Fantastic. And then when you think about growing or creating your wealth,
you need to remember how you are going to leave a legacy, the values that you have inputted into your wealth and the business that you have, and how you need to adapt to change, especially now with the digital side of things. And with that, you just need to join Standard Chartered Bank. Why? Because they realize that wealth isn't just what you earn or invest, it's what you pass on. And for many high net worth individuals, legacy and values matter just as much as the capital. Now at Standard Chartered Priority Banking, they go beyond numbers. The team helps you with estate planning, ensuring your wealth transfers seamlessly while also preserving the values you hold dear. Now, in a world that's constantly shifting economically, politically, even tax-wise, adapting to change is crucial. With Standard Chartered, you're not reacting, you're prepared. This is about more than financial success. It's about sustained intentional wealth. Start your journey today. Email wealth.ke@sc.com, because if not now, then when? Now is your time for wealth.
Fantastic. Martin Chomba is here. He's been here before. And like I said, there was some, what's that game? Is it? I don't know what it is. But balls were being thrown in the air and we landed on the magic numbers of 7, 8 and 9. 7, 8 and 9 is not in sequence when you're trying to reach 10. It's the increase by which you will be purchasing petroleum products from 2 days ago. You thought 2 and 3 was a bit sticky. This is getting stickier still. We're going to be looking at the impact of rising fuel prices and the cost of living. Martin Chomba is the chairman of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. Good morning, Martin.
Good morning, Du. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Thank you.
7, 8 and 9 notwithstanding. We want to welcome you today with the proverb, and Dennis is going to share that, and then you let us know your interpretation of it.
Now, our proverb comes from Nigeria, and it goes like this. The frog does not run in the daytime for nothing. The frog does not run in the daytime for nothing. How would you interpret that?
Oh, thank you. I think Africa is very much interconnected because where I come from, we have a similar proverb, also meant to say that if you see a porcupine walking in the daylight, then something is up. So when you see a frog jumping in the daylight, it means that there must be a problem that is forcing that frog to be out of its natural habitat, because its natural behavior is that at the daylight it is hibernated. So when you see it jumping in the daylight, then something has interfered with its natural habitat. Yeah.
Something is wrong.
Something is very wrong.
And true to interpretation, when we see numbers jumping on the 14th, something is wrong. And we also want to, before we get into this conversation, listen to what the former chair of the Budget Appropriations Committee said a few days ago. That's the Member of Parliament for Kihara constituency, Ndende Nyoro. This is what he said. Let's listen into that before we start our conversation, shall we?
We saw the fuel prices going up yesterday drastically, and the explanation that was given by government is not accurate, because blaming the global oil prices is falling short of what the reality is. Because last year, for the last 1 year, the highest fuel prices we have seen were actually in June 17th of 2024. And in this calendar year, the highest prices we have seen were actually in January. But having said that, it is important for us to know that out of what Kenyans pay at the pump in terms of fuel prices, around half of that money is in terms of taxes and levies. Over 80 shillings of what people pay for petrol prices, over 80 shillings goes into taxes and levies. And of what Kenyans pay for other products or fuel other than petrol, over 76 shillings again goes into taxes and levies. In an oil producing country like Kenya, the only tool a government is left with is altering the levies and taxes. This is where the problem is. The government of Kenya actually added a new levy last year of 7 shillings in the fuel prices. And how the government works is that time when the fuel prices are coming down, actually that's the reason why Kenyans never felt the global deceleration of the oil prices. Because it's around that time that the government introduced a secret 7 shillings in fuel levy. That is partly one of the problems why the fuel prices are going up. But the more unfortunate bit is that this year, the government has taken that 7 shillings, taken to the banks as security, and then they have taken a loan of 175 billion shillings. This money is not reflecting in the government books as a debt, and therefore it can only pass as an illegal debt, because whatever is not accounted for as a debt, then any other debt is illegal. There has been a lot of secrecy around securitization, because these questions, we have asked them even in Parliament, even the people in the Treasury don't seem to know. Some of the questions we are asking, how much money is the government actually borrowing? Because even the 175 is from different sources other than the official source. Secondly, what is the interest rate? Third, after 7 years, which is the period at which they are borrowing, how much will the government have paid to these banks? Fourth, is this money sovereign guaranteed? Because it seems to be nowhere in the government books. It actually also never came to Parliament for any ratification. The problem of this is that we now have the government spending money in advance. They have already collected money in advance for the next 7 years. So if Kenyans demand lower fuel prices, and you've already taken loans using the levies and taxes, how are you going to alter the pump fuel prices? Because the only tool you have is taxes and levies, and it is the one that you've already securitized. And this securitization term is another dogma that is being brought around to confuse Kenyans. It is important for the government to be prudent. It is not fair because we want to be clapped for today. We add fuel prices. We actually go to the banks and take loans using the same levy, which in a bad day is what Kenyans will demand it gets lowered for the fuel prices at the pump to actually be managed. The other thing I want to highlight is that beyond the people in the National Treasury who are clearly engaging in an illegality of borrowing money and hiding that borrowing, even the banks that are lending money using the securitization issue, they need to answer questions to their shareholders. This money you are lending, how is it secured? If the fuel levy in terms of what Kenyans pay is only created through a gazette notice by a memorandum from the cabinet secretary, what if another cabinet secretary gives the one that lowers the levies, which the banks are already holding as security for the loans? And lastly, in the affairs of financial management, you must never favor any of your creditors, because what basically you are doing is to open a floodgate. If you securitize fuel levy, like the one they are doing, the 7 shillings, they're in the process of doing another 5. Then what if now a Chinese lender comes and they want to securitize our VAT? And another one comes, a lender, they want to securitize our payee. What will be left for the government to do, the governments that are in power or that come to power? It is important for Kenyans to know that the explanation that was given in terms of fuel prices is actually not true. The truth is introduction of new levies, but more importantly, the illegal borrowings that are happening around fuel levy. The questions I'm asking, or the voice I am airing, it is just for the love of the country. Because if we do the same on all the other funds, the government is doing the same in terms of sports fund, we do the same in terms of fuel levy, then where is the flexibility for the governments to make decisions on how to expend their money when the government that is currently there is already spending money in advance? What if the other government that was there did the same, securitized the money in terms of all the taxes? Then what will be the role of the government now? Which decisions would they be making when the money is actually not available?
So this is where we are, a long one, but to able to be listened to in its entirety of that statement. But if we look at it, the bottom line is that according to Ndindi Nyoro, he says that what is causing this large jump in the fuel prices that we've seen after the IPA regulation on Monday is not what we would think it would be when we see the conflict that's happening between Israel and Iran, or what we saw previously with the Russia-Ukraine war, when those high prices then were attributed to those conflicts. But that what we are seeing is that there is a securitization of monies within government. It is levies, it is new taxes that is being used to pay for this illegal borrowing. Martin, would you be in agreement?
I would be in agreement and say, okay, I'm not privy to how that has happened in terms of securitization of that money, but that would be a very dangerous trend if that happened, because we have what we call the continuous government. And whatever the government of the day does today, it must be cognizant of the fact that when they are out of power, somebody else will be managing the affairs of the state. And if you securitize a levy, it means that the other government that comes will be collecting levy and paying the debts that you secured using that levy. And I think it would be a very absurd economic management of our country. Having said that, I would want to say that the industry that will run in petroleum is somehow not the way I would think or imagine that a capitalist system of economic affairs like Kenya would be run. For instance, I am of the opinion that in as much as we control the prices and we do all these manner of things, there are gaps within the supply chain. And for instance, you'll notice that the component of taxation within our petroleum prices counts for more than, give or take, it's 70 to 80% of the cost, meaning that about 80 shillings or thereabout of the component of pump price of petroleum today is basically taxes. And one of the component that I feel as an expert within the industry is not very well justified is what we call the VAT. Mm-hmm. From the face value, VAT means value added tax. I don't think there's any value that we add in petroleum in this country, because we don't have a petroleum industry in Kenya. We have a petroleum logistics industry. Unless you tell me transporting petroleum from Mombasa to using Kenya pipeline to Kisumu, you have added value. And I don't think that is the case. So we trade petroleum the way we have imported it. It has no value added whatsoever. So for me, when we put the VAT component, other than it being just a way of holding capital or holding cash so that probably the government can be using that money, there is no other value that we add in that. And I feel that is lopsided for me. Why? Because the amount of money we hold, or rather the government hold as VAT in the industry is big. If you look at 16% of a problem, we consume about 400 million liters a month, thereabout, give or take. And you multiply that by 16%, you realize the amount of money that is just being held from the economy, which would go a long way in easing the issues of cash flow within the economy. And for me, that I think is lopsided. In terms of the spike of petroleum that we have seen, there's one piece that would justify a rise, but that should not be taken to be the entire reason. When there's geopolitical tension, and especially in the Middle East, it is understandable that about 12% of global oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, that is next to Iran. And whenever there are issues in Iran and they threaten to constrain the movement of vessels that bring about petroleum both to Africa and Europe, then we have extended journeys in terms of people trying to avoid that strait, and then that puts strain on supply, global supply, which now spikes the demand. And we saw that when Israel and Iran had a run in the last, I think, a month or so, where prices went up to about 6%. Having said that, I feel that there's a lot to do. Okay, the other component is right now there is an issue. Actually, I'm not sure that we are out of the woods, because if you look at I think southern Yemen next to Red Sea, there is this group of rebels called the Houthi who are sinking ships around there. So owners of the freight vessels, they don't want to pass through the Red Sea, and for some reason they will still go to Cape of Good Hope and all that, which is a very long journey, and this might also bring some problems in the coming years, but in the coming months. But I feel that as an industry and as a government, we have a duty to make sure that we anticipate some of these things insofar as, because when you are consumer economy, it is in your interest to make sure that you plan adequately for it. And petroleum in this country is a national security issue. You realize that today, if something happened and there is no vessel that is able to come to Mombasa, we may not have stocks that may outlast us a month. And we are living in increasingly tensioned global systems. where one issue can trigger these kind of things. So we have a duty to either invest seriously as a country with what I call strategic reserves, where you have product that can last you and help you hedge against these global tensions and the global spikes, because this is the only way we can take care of the common person in case of whatever happens, because we are taking every shock that comes out there, and this shock is exacerbated by the fact that in our local economy we are relying on petroleum as the lowest hanging fruit, where we go to anytime. Today, if we need money for whatever reason, if this country needs money, the first place everybody in treasury and everywhere else will ask is, how is petroleum? Can we add this levy? You realize that just before President Ruto dismantled the cabinet after the uprising of Gen Z last year, just before that, I think the cabinet secretary for transport then, I think, was Mr. Kipchumba Murkomen. Just before he left office, he sneaked in a levy in petroleum that was a bit people were not very much in agreement with, but it stays. It was, I think, 7 or 8 shillings thereabout, meaning if that levy was not there today, then the prices we are having would be buying fuel at 80 shillings. So 180 instead of 187 that is currently there. So I think also the number of levies that we put on petroleum have a long way to do with what happens. So the impact, I can talk about the impact of this, and this is what I'm feeling, that right now we are going to have a bit of strain. One, inflation. I think it was at 3.8. I can assure you it's going to go up, because whenever the prices of petroleum go up, this is an industry that carries every other industry. Yes, please.
No, just continue.
Yeah. So when this happens, is that we are going to see an increased activity in terms of pain in the small-scale industries, where we rely on transport or powered diesel engines to either make production or to make sure that they get their products to the market. So this is going to see the prices go up a little. And when this goes up a little, then you can be sure it mops up what we call the purchasing power is going to be reduced to a great extent.
So Chomba, we talk about the fuel that we consume in the country, and there's a time the government of Kenya and government of Saudi got into an agreement, G2G deal. And I just did a quick research on the same, and you look at how much Saudis are buying the fuel off the pump, and that is equal to $0.62. Now you look at Kenya is 1.428 per liter. You know, so if you look at how much Saudis are selling their fuel off the pump, is actually cheaper than half what would be in Kenya, which begs the question, this G2G deal that we got into, is it helping Kenya in any way?
I have 2 answers to that. One is very positive, the other one is to the negative. The problem I would first say is that the G2G deal is very good. It's very good in that we secured what we call forex stabilization, because what would have happened is, if today we let off the G2G, it means that every month will require about $500 million mopped up from the economy on monthly basis, and this is what puts strain on the forex, and probably forex would spike to maybe 150 to 160. So if this happened, it would affect every other economic activity that we do, that we use dollars to import goods, and so this would also exacerbate the trade in the country. But having said that, is that also G2G has what we call fixed premiums, and in commercial agreements everybody hedges their side, okay? And so when this deal was being done, the people who were giving us that fuel, the Saudis and the guys from UAE, hedged, and the deals have what we call fixed premiums. And I think we have premiums of $90 per barrel on petroleum, super petrol, and I think 80 on diesel. So what this means is, if prices go beyond there, we are safe. But also, prices, when they are low, we don't enjoy. Like now, there has been a spell where the prices have been low, but we can't enjoy that because we already have that fixed. So it is what I would call probably necessary evil at some point. It's not something that is very favors us when the prices are down, but it also hedges us from now the extreme where we have some countries in Africa who have been buying fuel to an equivalent of Kenya shilling 300. Kenya shilling, 240. So we may not get to that level. But then again, we also forfeit. If prices today went to 80 shillings per litre, then we still cannot have that. Yeah.
So do we see the rise in fuel prices as a direct result of the 5 to 6 increase on world crude? Because we did see that, especially after the first attack that we saw between the US and Iran and all of this. We saw 5 to 6% increase on world crude. Do we see this increase now, July 14th, that after the regulation and everything that has been mixed and gathered by IPRA, do we then see that this is as a direct result of that increase? Because 5 to 6% is a big deal when we're talking about the global scale. And what we are being told, the pundits are saying that it's likely to worsen should the conflict worsen. It's a global phenomenon. It happens. It's happening to everybody. And so it wouldn't affect Kenya differently. But do we see that it's direct with what's happening in Kenya?
Yeah, what happens, the way we buy fuel in Kenya, because of planning, we use what we call weighted average. And so in most cases you'll find that the fuel that we be consuming this month in the weighted average of last month, and last month, half of last month, but one last month and part of this month, half of it. It's about 2 months to 3 months. So that weighted average has us now paying for the spike that happened in the month of June when that conflict was at its peak. What I am expecting is, because of the ceasefire talks around the whole issue, I'm expecting that the prices should ease, and we should see a slight drop, or not very significant, but a slight drop in the next pricing cycle, because right now we are not buying the way we were buying, but the product we are buying today is what we'll be consuming in the months to come. So we expect that the prices will have eased then. But should the tension go, the way we are, and this is the problem of being a consumer economy, it works like a hydraulic. They push, and immediately we are pushed. You see the way you push the brake pedal and the wheel stops is exactly that what happens to our economy. We have no buffer whatsoever. And that's why I am recommending, and I've always been agitating for this, that in Mombasa, we need to have serious storage. I will also qualify the statement I'm saying here, because if you look at our petroleum industry today, over 50% of that industry is in the hands of international companies that are domiciled in other states, other nations. And as I'm a student of international relations, and I'll tell you this, if we have political tensions between countries, you know what you have seen the countries use are trade sanctions. And if a country today woke up and said that any company that is domiciled in our company is not going to trade with Kenya, and that country happens to be a country from whose these companies come from, and they stop their trading in Kenya for one reason or the other, then we are in limbo in terms of petroleum. So these are some of the things that we must, even as we encourage globalization and international trade interconnectivity, what we call the complex interdependency. But then again, we also as a country must look inward and see how do we hedge against international issues that are beyond our control, such that in case of anything, we still can last a month or two as we organize ourselves.
Okay. I'd like to take a break at this point. We'll come back and continue with this. Martin Chomba is the chairman of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. We're looking at the impact of rising fuel prices on the cost of living, and perhaps we'll go into that later. We still sometimes find it difficult to make the connection then between the two and what exactly it would mean. When you see fuel prices go up, then what are you saying? Even as you go to that break, got to remind you that if you're looking for dialysis, you don't have to look too far, especially especially kama unaishi Roysambu. The Aga Khan University Hospital has brought dialysis near you at the Roysambu Specialty Center. Watu wa Thika Road, msiende mbali kutafuta dialysis. The medical center is SHA certified, and you can use your SHA coverage to pay for your dialysis. Other services available at the Aga Khan University Hospital Roysambu Clinic include chemotherapy services, endoscopy, and daycare surgeries. Specialists available at this clinic include a pediatrician, gynecologist, family physician, gastroenterologist, general surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, ENTs, dentists, dermatologists, among others. The Aga Khan University Hospital, world-class care here and now. For more information, call 0730 011 888. That's 0730 011 888.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
When you are unwell, you need a healthcare partner who will prioritize your welfare. Aga Khan University Hospital has brought specialized care near to you through their 54 medical centers across East Africa. And now the hospital has brought world-class care to Raptor Road, Westlands at the prominent building. Some of the specialist services offered in this clinic include family physician, pediatricians, well baby, gynecologist, ENT specialist, counseling psychologist, nutrition and weight loss, among others. The Aga Khan University Hospital has also made medical checkups more available through our subsidized wellness packages. These packages are available at a clinic in your neighborhood. Do not wait until it is complicated. When diseases are detected early, there are more treatment options, better outcomes, and quicker recovery. From as low as 10,415, you can get a comprehensive medical checkup in this clinic and at any of our medical centers. Visit any Aga Khan University Hospital Medical Center in your hood today or call 0730 011 888. Aga Khan University Hospital. World-class care here and now.
A little sharing goes a long way with Safaricom.
Dad, thanks for helping me find those shoes on IG this morning. Your internet shopping skills are on point.
Of course. Maybe you let say. And thanks for sending me that TikTok dance. Ati mnasemaga it slapped me?
Aki, Dad, no one says that.
Mom, thanks for the call before the quiz. Who knew you'd be so good at remembering those dates?
Well, I do try. And thanks for sharing those hilarious memes on the family WhatsApp group. I needed the laugh. My day was going sideways.
And when they come home, the connection gets even better.
Guys, the show is starting. Are you guys ready?
Just a minute. Let me finish this online course.
Almost done with my game, Dad.
Just after I beat you.
It feels good to share with Safaricom Family Share from Safaricom Home. You can now enjoy a home fiber connection with a voice, data, and SMS plan that can be shared with up to 5 members of your family. Experience the convenience of paying for your home internet and mobile plan on one bill. And what's more, you get up to 20% off on your mobile connection with more value for you and your family. Dial *400# or go to my Safaricom app to add Family Share to your Safaricom Home Fiber.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi, 16 degrees at 17 in Nakuru and 15 in Nyeri. Eldoret at 17, while Mombasa at 25 and Malindi at 27. 22 and sunny in Kisumu, while Kakamega at 21 is sunny. It's mostly sunny at 21 into Kampala, while Dar es Salaam at 24 is sunny as well. 13 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, while Mogadishu at 26 is sunny. Addis Ababa at 17 is sunny as well. Cloudy conditions at 25 in Lagos, while it's 22 and partly sunny in Kinshasa. 30 and cloudy in Beijing, while 19 and cloudy in Paris. It's 17 and sunny in London, with clear conditions at 26 in New York.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Coming out of traffic hour, we've not done too badly this Wednesday, over the hump of the week, and I think we're coming out of traffic hour in good stead. Fine form we are at. Mombasa Road, you'll see just a little bit of that left as we get into the CBD. Coming off of Thika Superhighway, no problems at all. Just a little bit left as you go towards the Pangani underpass, then touching into the CBD. Everything else seems to be flowing in good places. SpiceFM KE on X through the morning will keep things moving.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Now 21 minutes to 10 o'clock. Martin Chomba is here. We are looking at the impact of rising fuel prices and on the cost of living as the chairman of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. And so we see these things happening. There's a conflict suddenly, and we're asking questions, how does it affect us? People say, no, it doesn't affect us. We say, yes, it affects us. Okay. Then we see world crude prices rise by 5 to 6%. Then we say, okay, but we have fuel and we're fine. Then comes July 14th, and the prices rise by almost 10 shillings across product. And then we say, well, okay, so it's just fuel at the pump, isn't it? And we'll be fine. And then maybe next month they'll, like you said, it's not the fuel that you've bought that you're using today, that you've bought today that you're using today. You're using what you've bought maybe a couple of months before. Yeah. So you experience a rise or a spike because it has to be applied from what is currently happening. But then why are we bothered? Because is it not just fuel in the tank? What happens? We say that there's a connection between the cost of living and the cost of fuel. Explain.
100%. The cost of petroleum is the bedrock. It's actually the spine that holds the economy, because there's no sector that I know of that is not connected to petroleum, including what you're doing today. You come in here, you used a vehicle that had to be powered either as petrol as a mode of propulsion or diesel, but either way you found yourself here using petroleum. The mama mboga that is taking the mboga to the market is using petroleum. It doesn't matter whether it is the border industry, whether it is the aviation industry. Everybody is propelled by petroleum, and that's why anything that happens to the petroleum industry sends shockwave across. You see, when countries like Russia are sanctioned on petroleum, the world economy feels. And most of these world economic giants, they are themselves producers of petroleum. Like today, US is the number one producer of of petroleum in the world. And when there's an issue like it's happening, you'll feel the shocks also in the US. So how much more a country like Kenya, who we don't have, I've heard people say that, we produce petroleum, but we are far away from it, and even what we would be doing in Turkana would not be sustainable in Kenya, because as it were, we don't have a refinery. So even if we are producing crude, because the other thing that people must know is that we don't excavate, or rather we don't get petroleum in its the usable state. So it has to be taken to refineries. So you'll find that the ones that we do in Turkana, when we are doing those trials, they could not even be used here, because even the cost of taking that to a refinery is very high. Those of us who have been around for some time will remember that we used to have a refinery in Mombasa, but it's defunct. Why? Because it was designed to cut very raw products, and very few, that is petrol, diesel, and IK, what we call illuminating kerosene. Today, the refineries around the world have been built for efficiency. It's like running a vehicle that uses carburetor today, as opposed to the ones that we are using today, EFI and VVTI, VVTIs, whatever. So it's not sustainable. So we have to rely on developed economies insofar as petroleum industry is concerned, and that's why I said our industry will always operate as a hydraulic. So whenever you hear an issue, it doesn't matter what it is. Today it will be Israel and Iran conflict. Tomorrow it will be Iran and another country, or is UAE and another country, but Kenya, we will feel it because we are a consumer economy that has not adequately planned to hedge against that. Because for me, the only way we'll do that is if we can have reserves here in this country, probably in Mombasa, that can help us last about 5-6 months in case of anything that happens. But today, if we last a month with the oil reserves that we have, we'll have stretched our luck too far.
Do we have oil reserves in Kenya?
We don't have oil reserves in Kenya. What we have is storage for the few days that we are using. For instance, in Mombasa we have storages, and Kenya Pipeline has built storages that we call common user facilities, where anybody who brings in petroleum, the companies that participate in the G2G and importation of petroleum, that is where they put their molecules, their products. So they are just depots. They are actually not storage facilities. They are just depots where you are supposed to go and collect your product.
So what stops us from having reserves? Because unlike other countries, you have policies, strategic reserve policies around importation of fuel and oil. What stops us from having that?
I think the people that have previously been manning the industry and the ministry have not been deliberate on it. And it has to come to a point, because for me, as I told you, I equate it to national security. And the national insecurity issues are increasing by day. So any prudent person in charge of the sector today in this country, the petroleum strategic reserves would be first in their mind, and they ought to be spread across this country. Because remember, there's a time in 2022 when there was an issue, and anywhere you went there was no petroleum. And the issue was very simple, that the prices that we were getting were similar. In every village there's this guy who is selling to Probox and Sientas, and those people could not access. Actually, they are the people that we started representing when we started the organization, because that is who we are. When we could not access the petrol, it became logistically impossible for the people who have the big stations in town to actually fuel motorbikes. Because I come from a village called Kangaita in Kirinyaga constituency. And the next pumps that you'll find that are big stations are in a town called Kerugoya. So if in my village in Kangaita, there's a place called Gitombe, Kearida, all those places, if there is no one selling petrol, it means all these motorbikes will all go to Kerugoya town. And when they go to Kerugoya town, you cannot fuel 1,000 or 2,000 motorbikes, even if you have the product. And that's why I'm saying today, we need to have a strategic reserve policy so that we have this spread across the country. Whether you're in Kisumu, there's a strategic reserve product depot there, and so that in case of anything, because we cannot rely, we are living in what we call in international relations complex interdependency, where each system is dependent on the other. Every country is dependent on another country, and in case there's a problem in one country, it affects everybody.
But Chomba, is it a question of we don't have thinking heads, or is it a question of there is a lack of will? And just give me a moment to just digest this, because in my layman's way of thinking, this is common sense for any country. We have people who are in that space who travel the world. You see what other countries are doing. I'll give you a case study of India. India is heavily dependent on imports. 85% of India's crude oil is imported, mainly from the Middle East, where we get it from as well, and recently from the US, Russia, and some parts of Africa. Now, India is the third largest oil consumer in the world. So they took their practice from the US, and they also looked at China. So for us to then look at the best governance practice in coming and formulating policies around imports of fuel and oil, it's very, very simple. So for them, it's coming up with a strategic petroleum reserve. So India developed that. And that's why the model around India is what the US is doing, what China is also doing: build underground rock caverns, get as much as you can, spread it out like they were saying in the villages. In India, you have Karnataka, you have Andhra Pradesh, you have all these other parts where they have millions of tons of reserves. That is just phase one. Phase two is now looking at where else can we get to in terms of public-private partnerships. Number three is then looking at how then do you diversify, because if you are an ally to the US or to Russia, and US has a problem with Russia, that's where you're getting your oil from, then where else do you get your oil from because of the geopolitics? Why are we not thinking like that?
I am afraid that a while ago, some of us used not to really speak because we used to think that people who run the management of countries are very brilliant. Up until you start discussing some of these things, you realize what you are calling common sense sometimes is not very common. Today, if you are importing fuel in Kenya, you have to put something we call the line fee. You have to have at least 1 million litre in that system. So because your fuel will be pushed by somebody else's fuel to reach Nairobi or Kisumu. It's the same concept, very simple. If I were running, or if I were to advise anybody running that, we would come up with a policy, because we are not short of examples like you've just put there. Anybody investing in petroleum industry here ought to build strategic reserve where there's a certain number of liters that you must be having in this country, domiciled in this country in case of anything, so that we are not just running on hand-to-mouth kind of the way we are running the reserve. So in my view, it is high time, because this is what I tell people. We say we are African when we want, and we say our economy is small when we want to justify some things. But when we want other things, we talk of world best practices. When we talk about the things, why is it today in this country where the infrastructure is dilapidated and not that developed, but you'll see somebody driving an S600? But when you talk about maybe healthcare and some other good things, we say, hey, we've not developed to that level. You see, we get what we want and it's justified, but when what is demanded of an economy or making people be what they ought to be, then we have excuses. So for me, petroleum is not something that we can, it's just like having defense. It's equal to defense. Today we spend billions of money in defense budget. We spend a lot of money in other things. We should spend equally a serious budget on petroleum strategic reserves. There cannot be an excuse for that, and there ought to be a serious policy around that.
So why then, if I mean, that's understandable, and looking at the need for reserves and all, but of course the question comes in then that why then within a region would you see that fuel is more expensive from one country to the next? I believe in the region, Kenya is one of the most expensive, Rwanda, Uganda, all benefiting from cheaper fuel prices. Why is that?
Because of taxation regime. That's it's direct. In terms of how the prices, what we call the landed cost, we have more the same prices. Though, as I told you earlier, that Kenya we have fixed premiums. So when the prices are low, globally low, we still have our premiums high. But when the prices are also globally very high, we also have relatively average prices. So most of the determining factors in terms of what will be the prices probably in Uganda, Rwanda and the region, Tanzania and such, is the taxation component and the landing cost, because ours is fixed. Yeah.
So Choma, you look at I want to push this even further in terms of, we know that Kenya, we just started exploring oil reserves in the country, and early stages, nothing much to talk about. But if you look at the continent as a whole, you look at Nigeria, 1.3 to 1.5 million barrels a day. You go to Libya, 1.2 million barrels a day. You go to Angola, 1.1 million barrels a day. Yet there is no one is processing this fuel to such a point that it's ready for use. It has to go outside, then we import. Countries like Nigeria have to import the fuel back home. Is it then about time that African leaders, through the African Union, finally sat down and saw how best to harness all these resources that we do have so that we have a solution within the continent. Perhaps that is pushing it so far, or is it about time that we started having these conversations?
Thank you. And allow me, I met a gentleman sometimes who told me that if you don't blow your own trumpet, nobody will realize that you have one. I am a PhD student in developmental studies. And amongst the things that really bothers me is the petroleum industry in Africa is following in the footsteps of other cash crops that we have in Africa. For example, today, anybody who drinks very good tea, they call it English tea. In England, they don't grow even one bush of tea. So the best chocolate is probably in Switzerland, but they don't grow cocoa. It's the same footsteps that we are following in terms of petroleum. And we are headed to a place where we cannot develop our own. There needs to be a critical thinking, and this is where I think people must be called to order. We are a consumer economy, as I said. Every vehicle on this road, over 80% are imported vehicles. We have countries where we import from who are raising policies, Dennis, that in the next probably 20 years or 15 years, they are not going to be producing diesel-propelled engines, okay? Or petroleum engines. And 80% of the petroleum that we consume is used by the vehicles. So the policy must also align, because today if we are going to sink billions of shillings doing oil exploration, and we don't have a motor industry where we are going to continue doing engines that consume this oil, what are we saying? You know, and this is where I find a lot of disconnect. We have in 2035 and 2040, UK, Japan, they are not going to be producing these engines. Yet, over 80% of the vehicles on our roads are from these countries imported. So what will happen? Where will we take our fuel? Okay? Unless now we are looking to maybe exporting it to somebody else, and I don't know who will have that capacity. So this is where I'm saying there's a lot of disconnect in terms of policy making, and sometimes you think people have thought through some of these things until you hear what they are saying, and then you wonder, why are we doing this? Why aren't we anticipating what is coming in the future and use our money and our budgets to make sure that we are strategically placed to exploit the opportunities of the future?
Is it that we lack think heads, or we just
you see Dennis saying that, and you come back to it. I tried to go away from it, and I saw you. I saw you, because I don't want to appear rude, but I will tell you this: we have people who have been conditioned to think in a certain way, and they are not able to think intergenerationally. We are not able. We are afraid of thinking and planning ahead, such that people who get today in ministries and in government where policies are made, they become hostage of the old way of thinking. And anytime you try to upset the status quo, then you are looked as the black sheep. And it is happening even in our industry. Sometimes you find yourself having to be very measured, because every time you think out of the box, it's like you are trying to upset the status quo, and that does not augur very well with octogenarians who have been there in the industry for so long that they feel if things are not done this way, then they are not okay. And that's why we are challenging them. We are telling them, 2045, my son and your daughter will be the guys driving in these streets. The kind of vehicles they will be driving, they will not be requiring the petrol and the diesel that we are using today. They are requiring another mode of propulsion, maybe energy. Shouldn't we probably be investing in production of energy and those kind of things?
But if we can't think of
strategic reserve,
we are thinking EV right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Chomba, back to the VAT question.
Yes.
It makes you feel defeated, because you're thinking
welcome to my world.
There is a way out with this situation. But back to the question of VAT. Ndini Nyoro says taxes and levies, and we all know this. Half of the pump price is going to taxes and to levies.
Yes.
And there's a point where he said it is not fair. When you look at, for example, VAT, and I'm beginning to see a broader picture of how we are using VAT. In this case for fuel, is VAT being used as a revenue tool? Or is there some value creation?
I'll be very candid on that question. Like I said when we started, I said that we don't have an industry, we have a logistics. Petroleum logistics industry. It's not a petroleum industry. So we just get the fuel the way we got it in Mombasa is the way it's used.
We don't change anything.
We don't change anything. And I'm not an economist, but I know value added tax. It means that there's a value. When you got this bottle of water, there's a value you added to it, and that is what you're taxing. Yeah, you're taxing.
Yes.
You know, and there's no value whatsoever we add in petroleum in this country unless you tell me transporting it is value, and then the VAT should be on transport. It should not be on the product.
Right.
So a VAT on petroleum to me is a government way. From 2018, it was designed to be a government way of just mopping up revenue, just, and I don't want to call it revenue because revenue is justified in my view. So it's just a way of mopping up cash for dispensable cash for the government. Why am I saying this? If you look at the component of VAT, it accounts for about 12 or 13 shillings of the pump price we have today
per liter.
So if that is 16%, if you do 16% of 186, I don't know how much that is, but it's quite something.
Yeah.
And you can multiply that 13 shillings or just call it 10 shillings by about 400 million liters that we use monthly, and you see how much money that the economy is holding. For me, I am not an economist, but I usually say this, Dennis, that the government is not the biggest employer. And if we want to reduce the issues of joblessness in this country, we must incentivize the SMSEs. This money that we are holding in terms of VAT is money that would be, if you see anybody doing a petrol station today, they are not doing a petrol station because petrol has not been paying. If they are doing a real estate behind the petrol station, you see a lot of other businesses. And these businesses are what now are employing. Today in this country, we have 7.2 million SMSEs. If we want to make sure that we increase the level of employment in this country, we don't need to do much. We just need to empower these small businesses to at least have 2 more employees. And that would be 14 million jobs created just like that, instead of going for the government. And so for me, if we could release some of this money to the economy, it will incentivize businesses. And the other issue that I usually say quite a bit is that we must make sure that the government don't borrow as much as they are borrowing today in the banks.
That could take us another hour, Martin.
Please.
And,
they release that money to the private sector and we develop businesses.
Good for us to get these insights and to look at how this actually does affect us, and to then be opened a little bit more on that. Martin Chomba, Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya chairman, has been here with us this morning. Thanks for rounding out the conversation this morning on The Situation
Thank you
Room.
for having me.
At now almost 2 minutes past 10. We'll talk again tomorrow. Good morning.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Nakuru County Government has activated its Health Department's Disease Surveillance and Response Unit to coordinate response against the Mpox virus and stop the spread of the disease. The devolved unit has announced that it has cumulatively reported 21 cases since August last year, when it confirmed its first case involving a 37-year-old male truck